Tuesday. Dean here, along with TJ. You know TJ, the greatest DFS player in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. Taking y'all straight up the lock tonight. I believe it's a 7:07 first pitch. If you want to get all technical, a little bit after 7 o'clock. We yielded a crunch time crew. You got Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, Derek Carty, you know, from such things as the Blitz and the Bat, and then Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. If anything's lurking out there as far as precipitation, they'll be all over it. 6:15. Get comfortable, TJ. We're here for an hour and 15 minutes. How are things in your world? How's Tuesday working out for you?
Life's good. Tuesday's good. You know, Canada's tax deadline is April 30th, and so I've just been finishing up everything I need to do for that. So it's been a busy few days. Plus, I'm driving up to Calgary Expo on Thursday. Going to Calgary. It's about a 6-hour drive, and they just have some of the wildest guests for an expo of this size. So I'm super excited about that. Been trying to write a ton of reviews, get them all out of the way before I go so I can just enjoy the trip. Today I fired off a Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 7 review coming out tomorrow or the next day, and then also a Sweet Tooth Season 2 review that comes out in a few days on Netflix as well. But I'm ready to talk some baseball now, get into these Spidey bombs. You know, they've been wildly hot, and we're going to keep it going tonight. Drop the first one at 50 likes. Get sneakier as we go. So let's hit the like button, everybody, and let's do it.
Yeah, they're already clamoring for the old Spidey bombs in chat. What's up, chat? Kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn those notifications. Do all those things to help us keep the proverbial lights on. Ted Lasso this year? Can I throw a complaint against the wall? I know it's blasphemous. You can't complain about Ted Lasso. Like, people get very upset about you. But the whole Nate thing, like, they made him too, like, I know it's going to come all the way back, right? The arc, right? You know, and somehow he's going to redeem. He is a redemption story, I imagine, coming. But they made him too evil too fast. No?
I don't know. I think it psychologically fits his character in terms of he's always kind of looking for that father figure, that figure of authority in his life to just kind of tell him how to live his life. And so he was all fired up. He was depressed before, and then he was all fired up and manic when Ted was giving him support. And now he's in his evil phase with Rupert feeding him all that toxicity. So the redemption, I can't really say anything.
It's coming
for another 12 hours, but the redemption arc may or may not have a beginning in episode 7. I mean, no, it started more recently. Like, we already saw it in episodes 5 and 6. You know, he was starting to turn things around a little bit. So,
do you have any interviews lined up here in Calgary? Am I saying that wrong? You said Calgary, I believe. Am I saying it incorrect?
Yeah, Calgary? It says both. Calgary is probably more common. I've been told that I say it weird. I think that's just kind of a people in Saskatchewan say it that way thing. They don't specifically line up the one-on-one interviews till we get there, but the guest list is pretty crazy in terms of people I'll at least get to talk to. Hayden Christensen's going. That was Anakin Skywalker. We got James McAvoy, who is Professor X, Andy Serkis, who is in absolutely everything, Charlie Cox, who is Daredevil, Sam Raimi directed the Spider-Man movies, Vincent D'Onofrio, who's Kingpin, David Harbour, who's in Stranger Things and Black Widow and a billion things, Ginny Weasley's actors there, the Armorer from The Mandalorian. It's a pretty crazy group.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna have a good time, man. And I assume that's gonna be stuff up on your site. You'll be tweeting about it if you want to follow along your adventures. That should be a good time for sure. Let's dig in. Let's talk some baseball. Plenty of time. 9-gamer. Doesn't look like we have anything as far as precipitation. Again, if anything pops up, of course, Roth will be all over it. Let you know what's going on. I'll go ahead and drop the weather report here at RotoGrinders in our chat right now. Most of it's from games that are happening like at 6 o'clock or so. One that's important as far as our slate, the main slate. Chicago, the Cubbies. It is cold in Chicago. Winds blowing in from left, nearly 10 miles per hour. Really, really good pitching weather. It's an interesting place to start because, man, I think one of the more interesting decisions is Blake Snell. We'll kind of dig into that in a second as far as the pitchers. I don't know which way I'm going on that. The rule book says, like, if he's going to be popular, you're supposed to be under, right? If he's not going to be popular, you're supposed to be over with Snell because theoretically he's a guy that could, go 5 and strike out 10 or 11. He's also a guy that can go 3 2/3 and throw 97 pitches and walk 6. And it's just an absolute disaster. I'm curious to get your take on that and just the overall landscape as far as the slate in general. There's like no mega like uber stud pitchers. There's some good pitchers for sure. Yeah, we'll kind of dig in on it. There's some pretty good hitting spots, but I don't know if there's like an incredible hitting spot. Sean Manaea not pitching any longer here for San Fran. I thought St. Louis was really interesting. They just wallop lefties. Manaea, maybe he's going tomorrow. I'm not really sure what's happening there. It looks like Jake Junis and an opener is the plan for San Fran tonight. What do you have as far as your screenshot when it comes to this 9-gamer?
You know, from a pitching standpoint, I'm going to be very, very heavy on 2 players, very focused on 2 individual pitchers today. And then my stacks are decently evened out. I only have 4 teams, I think, or 3 teams that I'm getting to over 10% of for stacks today. So pretty even across the board for hitting, pretty concentrated for pitching. And then from a Blake Snell standpoint, you know, my take with Blake Snell is always, I'm not going to play him.
Even if he's not going to get owned, no, he's going to get owned. I believe it's somewhere in the 20s or something like that is where our projection is. But yeah, it's sort of tricky. And again, the ballpark is a really good environment to pitch in today. With him, it's just like, you know, the old rule, he's pitching against himself, essentially. The batters just happen to be there. But if he's on, like, forget it. It doesn't matter who's hitting. And if he's not, it doesn't matter who's hitting it because they're gonna walk the entire game. I want to see what their lineup looks like from a walk perspective, how patient they may be. Question in chat for you, TJ. Derek wants to know, what is that creature next to you? What are we looking at?
The very next person actually answered it. So we got right beside me here, I got Ahsoka Tano, my favorite Star Wars character. Beside her is Grand Admiral Thrawn, this little blue guy. So he's going to be the next big bad for the upcoming Star Wars movies, as well as in the Ahsoka series that's coming out right away. And this is Sabine Wren, who you'll also meet in the upcoming Ahsoka series if you haven't watched Star Wars Rebels.
Wren was there's like an older guy that was Wren, like had a beard, right? Wasn't that? Am I thinking of the right character or no? Never mind. Like one of the it's not my world. I thought there was just like 9. We're doing 3, 3 in the middle, 3 before, 3 after. We're not done with that. We're gonna milk the people more money. Is that what's going on here? We've branched out.
I highly doubt Star Wars will end in either of our lifetimes.
Yeah, it's a license to print money for sure. What number are they on? I thought, for real though, I thought it was like offshoot stuff. Aren't they done with the 9? Is it like the 9 are set and they've just kind of branched out? Like Anakin was like on its own little world, or am I just making this stuff up?
I mean, there likely won't be all that much Star Wars or all that much Skywalker stuff anymore in terms of Anakin and Luke, but they just announced new movies at Star Wars Celebration, and so the upcoming movies are going to be one is called Heir to the Empire, and that's going to be about this guy Grand Admiral Thrawn, who's going to be the villain, and then we got it's going to be like the culmination of like the Mandalorian universe with Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, all these people. There's going to be a new Jedi Order movie with Rey, the character from the sequel trilogy, back as the main character. It's set about 15 years after those movies. Going to be her rebuilding the Jedi Order in a new and different way. And there's like basically the assumption is that Grogu, the little green guy from the Mandalorian, little baby Yoda, he will be now older in this and ready to be a Jedi alongside her, kind of thing. And then there's another one about the very first Jedi, the Dawn of the Force, and then a whole bunch of TV shows and stuff like that too.
There you go. All right, so yeah, a lot to stay tuned for sure. All right, chat. Feel free to join the conversation. Throw whatever's in your mind as far as baseball. Please, we have an hour and 5 minutes. Get comfortable before we yield to the crunch time. We're going to talk to the slate backwards and forwards. Firing up the ownership stuff, right? I saw they're talking about Snell being 30% projected owned on DK. Is that currently the number 1 pitcher right now? Because that's, I guess that means we're supposed to not play him. He's not my favorite pitcher. I wonder here. You said there's 2 guys, and I have a hunch, TJ. We haven't talked. We haven't disclosed this before the show. I feel like I know who your 2 pitchers are. Can I guess? Can we play the feud? Let's
do it.
Joe Ryan. You're going to pay up for Joe Ryan. He's the best pitcher on the slate. I think from a skills perspective, he's taken a step forward this year. This year specifically, the highest K rate amongst all his peers on the slate, the lowest Sierra amongst all his peers on the slate. He's got 2 first names. There's some value in that as well. He's actually got all the colors on the lineup HQ. Everybody likes him. Facing the Yankees lineup is like scarier than name than it is actually in reality. If you look at the plate IQ, like the Yankees were talking about Rizzo and Judge, and that's about it, right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the K's are not. This is a little bit more contact heavy lineup for New York than I was expecting. There's some contact guys in there, but 21.8% striking out collectively. But Joe Ryan, it sounds like I'm not leading the witness here, but it sounds like he's on the board. Is that correct? One of your top two guys?
Yeah, Joe Ryan is going to be my highest owned pitcher today. It's cold in Minnesota. The lineup the Yankees threw out is just pretty awful outside of Judge and Rizzo, obviously. And so Ryan is going to be not by far my highest owned pitcher. Him and one other are going to be by far my highest owned pitchers on DraftKings. But I got about 60% of them right now, and I wouldn't mind getting more.
So chief meteorologist Kevin Roth, the Weather Edge tool. Of course, you guys get that with RotoGrinders Premium. You used to be able to get it a la carte. I'm not sure if you still can. Why would you? Just get the whole deal. 38-game sample of similar weather, 50 degrees, kind of a crosswind at 6 miles per hour, going from third to first. We've seen a hit in homers at 11.8%, a hit in runs at 11.5%. We're going to talk about Chicago in a second. The other side of that game, I think Nasty Nestor is certainly in play against this Minnesota team, but that's not the other guy. You're not doubling down on, you got to save some salary, right? So you're going all the way up top. I think you're going all the way down low, and you're going to roster yourself a player that throws 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, and they kind of goofed the price on DK, and Fanduel still is playable as well, and it's just weird because we haven't seen a lot of this guy due to injury, and it's an Oakland Athletic. I believe that's what you're doing here. I think you're going up high and you're going down low. And the Angels, similar to New York, it's a little bit deeper, but it's Trout, Ohtani, and then some other guys. Rendon seems kind of dusty. Renfroe, obviously really good, but much better against lefties. Ward, I presume, is going to lead off. But again, the righty Miller, fireballer, 10, 15 pitches above 100 miles per hour. His first start, he threw, I think, 80, 81, 82 pitches. Cost per pitch, pretty solid. I want to say he's 5.5 on DK. He's really cheap. Tell me if I'm wrong. Did I nail it, TJ? Is that what you're doing? You're going up high and you're going down low, and that's kind of open stuff up? Is it Miller as your second favorite pitcher on DK?
You had it going in the first half, but I couldn't possibly go 60% Miller today. That's just a little too crazy. He might only go out there and throw 4 innings. No, it's same game. Griffin Canning facing the Athletics.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I was too ambitious there. Yeah, Canning is, I guess, the kind of sort of somewhat, I don't want to say, I guess he's the obvious one, right? If you look at our consensus rankings, we have Ryan 1, Cortez 2, Snell 3, Miller. Miller's ahead of Canning. I will tell you what's interesting. Myself and Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, we both put Canning ahead of Miller, but 2 other people didn't even rank Canning. We only rank 6 when it's 9 games. Interesting. Yeah, I have Canning ahead of Miller as well, but I thought Miller seems like a fun roster for sure. But talk to me about Griffin Canning, and I believe the ownership's going to reflect this. Let's see if we can get an updated version of it. I have the Plate IQ ownership projections. I can get the bat as well. It's pretty congested, right? Snell at 30, Cortez at 29, Ryan at 27. I don't totally get the Eric Lauer at 27 outside of the fact it's just he's a dude throwing baseballs against Detroit. Okay, I suppose. I'm curious to get your thoughts on Eric Lauer. He's in the pool, I guess, but not my favorite. Canning at 18% and Miller at 7 seems a little bit low. I think it's going to be a little higher than that, but this stuff gets refined the closer we get the lock. I wonder if the bat has it any differently, like distinctly different. We have, the bat has Miller even lower. Maybe my read is wrong on that. I thought he would, because he's getting a lot of buzz in our tournament stuff. So maybe it's just like in the bubble kind of thing. But okay, talk to me about Griffin Canning, and feel free to branch out and talk about Mason Miller.
Yeah, so Griffin Canning, it's just he faces Oakland. Yeah, they had a great game yesterday. That was against the lefty. You got to worry about Brett Rooker, and that's basically it in this lineup. And so just basically competent pitcher going up against Oakland, I'm in. This is a good young guy who struggled with injury. He's not picking up very much ownership today, the 6th highest owned pitcher on DraftKings. I love the idea of taking some shots on Mason Miller in tournaments like you were saying, but Griffin Canning is the one guy, 6'4", very affordable, highest projected guy in our projections as well as the bats in terms of these cheap pitchers. and I trust the projection team, and I trust knowing that Oakland is bad, and so I'm not too worried about that today. Like, yeah, he might get blown up, but at 6.4K, I really just need him to be competent, and that's about it.
But shout out to Stevie. Stevie was on yesterday hyping up the A's, and it's a bold thing to do to hype up the A's. And yeah, Rooker and Aguilar, I believe, went back to back twice in that game. I know they each had 2 homers off of Suarez. So we all kind of poo-pooed. We also
that was disappointing too, because before that happened, Dre was in first in the big $15 GPP on DraftKings with his Atlanta.
Stack. What did he have, an Atlanta stack?
Yeah,
Hilliard, right? I assume he had Hilliard, and Riley went yard, and man, that Atlanta, just every single day playing Atlanta stack. It's we'll talk about them soon enough, and today is no different. Yeah, well, let's branch out as far as other pitchers. Ownership-wise, again, kind of talking about how it's pretty congested. With, let's see, we got the bat pulled up as far as the ownership. We have Joe Ryan at 30%, Cortez 27%. It's pretty congested. And then Lauer at 22%, Snell at 22%. Talk to me about Lauer. Am I wrong to, be mostly ignoring him? It's just, again, the best sales pitches. He's facing Detroit, end of story. Yeah, Eric Lauer?
That's going to be my third highest owned pitcher today. It's just simple fact that it's Detroit. There's nobody in that great of a spot today. And so while Lauer is not very good, there aren't that many pitching options on this slate that we love. And he is a guy that can get some strikeouts. And he might give up 3-4 home runs, but he strikes out 24% of right-handed bats. This is a lineup filled with guys that like to strike out a lot, and the ones that don't have all that much power here. We got to worry a little bit about Baez. We got to worry a little bit about Haas, but not are we that scared of Nevin, Cabrera, Scope, Rogers, Carpenter to finish this lineup out? And so that's really the biggest thing here is there's not a lot of power. There's a decent amount of strikeouts, and Lauer, even though he gives up a ton of power to righties, he also can strike them out. So he's going to be my third highest owned pitcher today.
Yeah, it's all righties except for Carpenter. Like I said, eight righties. It's not cheap, but okay, sure. Maybe he's probably my 7th best pitcher if I was forced to rank him. I see somebody in chat's asking about the Cleveland game. Cleveland's not on this game, Jake. Not on our main slate, but Roth did give a weather analysis for it. He currently has it at yellow. If he's updating this, he may update this on Twitter, so make sure to follow his Twitter account, but he probably would update it in the weather page as well, so feel free to give that a refresh. But, yeah, it's not been canceled as of right now if you're asking about that, so but it may be raining currently. Where are we at as far as likes, by the way? Did we hit 50 just yet or no?
Rumor has it in chat that Dean will be shaving his head completely bald if we get to 100 likes. So make sure you pump the like button up to see that. 100 likes will also be Spidey Bomb number 2. And we have received over 50 likes. We got over 250 people watching now, though. So let's pump these likes way up. We could easily get this to 150 nice and quick here so we can get 3 Spidey Bombs. But we are over 50, so we got the first one. And Spidey Bomb number 1. Gosh, I love that graphic. The little RG logo on the bomb. We got the Agents of Fandom logo on Spidey's hat. Just beautiful stuff by our own producer, Steve. Spidey Bomb number 1 today is a guy that I don't really understand why he's going as low owned as he is. I understand that we have other places that we want to pitch up for, pay up for, other first basemen that we really like today. But Matt Olson for the Atlanta Braves, my favorite stack today, is going to be Spidey Bomb number 1.
Do you know what his odds currently are right now? I just pulled it up, the Scores and Odds app. You can shop around. The best odds we have it at, it's 215 in Caesars. Don't bet that. But
this is, to be clear, and it's 280 on FanDuel. I'll give out as soon as we get to 100 likes, I'll give out some non-Spidey Bomb, just like home run bets that I like. But Matt Olson today, this is a DFS Spidey Bomb. He's not high enough owned, and he's a great DFS play. And look, his odds are stupid. Don't bet him for a home run because his odds are 300 or less everywhere. But that kind of tells you he's in a really great spot today, and nobody's playing him in DFS, or at least not as much as they should be. And so, that's why Matt Olson, Spidey Bomb number 1.
Yeah, the Braves are facing Brian Hoeing. Cup of coffee last season in the majors. He got his face fully punched in 12 innings. He gave up 3.55 homers per 9. Like, that's not repeatable. That's really, really hard to repeat it if you're actively trying to repeat that. That's really, really bad. He's been good in the minor leagues this year, like fine, but he's not a prospect for Miami. 26 years old, he's not anybody to be feared, and this Atlanta lineup is awesome. I like Matt Olson a good bit as well, and I think it's just a salary thing why Olson's not going to get played today. Does the cap feel it's getting a little bit tighter? Like as far as some of the prices, a lot of the really good hitters are now like in the sixes or the mid sixes, right? I'm talking DK specifically. Acuna's 4.6 on FanDuel. I think he's like 6.5 or so on DK. Doesn't it feel like the cap's a little bit tighter these days, or is that me?
Yeah, I'm with you. It is quite a bit more difficult to build than it was at the beginning of the year. There was more pitchers who were just kind of like egregiously mispriced early in the season. There were some hitters that way as well, but I feel like more than anything else, the pitcher pricing has gotten tighter.
All right, Jose in chat's asking about Steele or Morton in cash. To me, Morton's a no-go in cash. Just no. I don't understand why. It doesn't seem necessary. Charlie Morton, 39 years old. I know the Marlins kind of stink. Did we get a Marlins lineup, by the way? I was thinking there's a chance the Jazz might not play. He hit the wall pretty hard last night, and if he doesn't go, it's going to weaken that lineup. I think they pulled him out as well. The game was basically over. They replaced him with De La Cruz, if I'm not mistaken. But, he hit the center field wall trying to catch somebody's homer ball. Just, he wasn't able to get it. He was kind of moving a little bit slow, so maybe he doesn't play. Maybe he does. Maybe that's what they're waiting on because it's, 2 hours away? We tend to get lineups now. But I don't know, man. I think eventually Charlie Morton's like he's old. The Ks are down. The walks are up. 16.5% strikeouts this year is really bad. He still has the skill of the ground balls, and good for him, 48%. The walks almost at 10%. But I'm not playing Charlie Morton in cash. There's no discount on either. And then Steele just seems a little bit too expensive. I think he's good. I don't really want to pick in the Padres. The ballpark's great to pitch in today in Chicago. We'll talk about it. I think he's interesting for tournaments, but I don't know if you're playing cash today, TJ. I'm actually not. But if I was, I would not be playing either one of those pitchers. Steele I like. It's just it doesn't fit the build. It's kind of an overspend. Was he 11.4 on FanDuel? He's pretty expensive on DK as well. Thoughts as far as Morton and Steele? Are you with me? Are you against me?
100%. I'm with you there. If I'm choosing one of the two, it's probably Morton just because he's a lot cheaper. I like them both for tournaments today, especially Steele coming in at low ownership. It's a tough lineup, but Steele has just been phenomenal to start this year, and the wind's blowing in at Wrigley. So I don't mind either of them for tournaments. I'm not playing cash today either, but I would not want to be going there for cash. To me, the cash pairing is absolutely Canning and Ryan, like by far Canning and Ryan.
Probably,
and then if I was going to go somewhere else, I'd probably either want to just like do the full punch with Miller or go up to Eric Lauer.
Let's see. I ran some optimals, and if I can get to them, Ryan at 58%, Cortez at 46%, Canning at 27%, for what it's worth. Optimals in baseball, if you understand what I'm talking about. I think it's two of Ryan, Cortez, and Canning. If you can get the Cortez, I prefer him like raw points wise over Canning, but it opens up the salary. Cortez is 9.9, and Canning is 6.4. So we're talking about getting, an upgrade as far as 2 or 3 bats. It's an interesting little fork in the road conundrum, how we want to look at it, but I'm okay with 2 of those 3. I probably wouldn't stray beyond that. Talk about Cortez. Did we talk about Cortez in passing? No Gallo in that lineup. I thought that'd be a fun little matchup, left on left there, but. No Gallo for Minnesota. Their lineup dropped not too long ago. Miami's just came out too, and Jazz is in there. Okay. Jazz, Soler, De La Cruz, Abisael Garcia, Segura, Gurriel, Birdie, Fortes, and Garrett Hampson. Your thoughts as far as Cortez?
I don't love Cortez. Like, he's a guy that gives up quite a bit more power to righties. He doesn't strike out as many righties. 24% is still perfectly fine. But for a guy of his price, only a 30% ground ball rate, gives up a lot of fly balls. And then this team is like entirely right-handed today outside of Larnach. Larnach is going to be a super easy strikeout. But like you look at this lineup, even though there's not a ton of power, like Correa obviously has power, Buxton, Miranda, Jeffers from the catcher position. But then there's some other guys in there that you're not really worried about. But when you look at them, like 17% K rate, 17%, 18%, outside of Buxton, Larnack, and Taylor, there really aren't that many strikeouts in that lineup. So he's someone that I think if you land on, I'm not going to tell you to get off of, but he's not like a major target for me.
Let's see. I'm checking out the chat. Did Derek have a big night last night? Shout out to Derek if you did. And apparently it's Flo's birthday. Happy birthday, Flo. And let's see. Did Alex have a nice night as well? Am I reading all these things correctly? Mark. Mark crushed yesterday with the Oakland stack, and got to give credit to Stevie on that one. I wasn't pushing that one nearly as hard, but Strider, everybody had Strider. Was it like 90% or something goofy like that in cash? And if you didn't play Strider in cash, like it's not a victory lap. Like, what are you doing? He almost had a perfect game, almost had a no-hitter, and he gave up, I think, 2 hits. I was watching the game. His grandma was in the crowd. They kept showing her on the Atlanta broadcasts. They were having a good time out there in Atlanta. Strider dude, that guy is awesome. Don't get injured. He's spectacular. Chipper Jones was on the broadcast, and they were interviewing me. Said, listen, if I was in the league today, like while he was watching Strider, he's like, I'd be hitting 200, basically. So he's talking about how much harder it is these days to hit baseballs. He's glad he's out. And I think he's a Hall of Famer, right, Chipper? Hall of Famer? I assume he is. All right. Anything else of note as far as pitchers? Who do we kind of like miss in the rundown? Or anybody else to throw them out there, chat? By all means, we miss somebody. You know what? I meant to confirm how this guy's name is pronounced. Is it Jose for the Mets? Is it Butto? Buto? Booty? Jose
Steve,
Butto?
come on, help us out. Is it Butto?
Waito?
I think Dean was right. It's booty. No, I think it's I don't really know. I would say Buto.
Yeah, I don't know much. I meant to go to like find a pronunciation thing or something like that, but I forgot that you were in my ear and it like jolted me. It just freaked me out. Like the voice is like boomed in my ear. I'm like, oh man, I'm very easily startled. I just watched the new Screen movie. That's probably what it is. That's probably what happened. I'm still, thrown off a little bit by that. Got all the lights on. Every door is locked for sure. But yeah, what do we think of Jose Buto today?
I think he is 5.5K on DraftKings, and therefore and he's facing Washington. And I don't need to know much else. And so that's enough for me to get to him in tournaments. I'm not going to play a ton of them, but 20-ish%, 15, 20% of this guy I'm totally fine with today. Not somebody I'd probably want to use for cash or for single entry, but I think it's fine to get to him for tournaments today.
Trying to see where he ranks. 14th according to Fangraphs when it comes to being prospects there for the Mets. 25 years old. What does the bat project for him as far as like K rates and stuff like that? 20.7% K rate in the majors. That's not spectacular. For what it's worth, I think, Carty will probably attest to this. The bat tends to not like rookies and not like prospects. So take that for what you will. But like you said, he's facing Washington, and anybody with a live arm throwing baseballs against Washington certainly in play. You don't need the win, but you'll take those win points, right? Quality start on Fanduel, take the 4 points on DK, and this lineup for Washington. You're sitting down, right? It's bad. It's not good. It's not a good lineup. There are some contact guys there. I give them that. Like Ruiz is a big contact guy, Abrams as well. But the power is just like non-existent. Joey Meneses is like the most powerful guy they have. 31-year-old, veteran. It's fine, I guess, but we're not. And of course, the ballpark there in New York is cavernous. A big downgrade, jumping from Washington to New York. He's in the pool. In the sample that we have, it's not very big. The sample we have stretched back to last season. In the majors, the K is not very good. 15%. The walk's really bad at 13%. 40% fly balls, but not a huge sample. But he's super cheap. You like him or Miller? I think you like Miller more, or no?
Yeah, I'm getting to slightly more Miller, but pretty close to the same amount of both of them in the 15-ish% range.
Somebody in chat saying they assume it's Italian. No, I believe he's Venezuelan. I just checked on the old Fangraphs, so I don't know. My Portuguese is a little bit shaky, so I'm probably butchering it, and I apologize. Antonio wants to know about the thoughts on the thoughts on the White Sox lineup. Barrios has given up a lot of hard contact to that lineup in the past. He's given a lot of hard contact to a lot of lineups recently. The White Sox, I just don't play the White Sox. It's like a general thought. And,
what is trivia, Dean? What is Jose Barrios' xFIP this year?
Let's say it's 3.8.
3.59. I don't think there's any reason to target the White Sox. I think there's much more reason to play Barrios. Barrios has been good this season after a bad first start and a bad last season, looking back to being the solid number 2, very good number 3 pitcher that he was in Minnesota. And the White Sox have just been trash. So, I think, in 150 lineups, I'm going to have 6 White Sox stacks. Not a full fade for me in case Barrios reverts back to being terrible. But this definitely isn't a team I'm looking to make be a big target.
Yeah. What do we have as far as ownership when it comes to Barrios? I don't think it's anything spectacular. He's sort of fine. Kind of a disappointment, right, for the Blue Jays fans, I imagine. Obviously really bad last season. They signed him for, 4 or 5 years or so. Hopefully he corrects himself going forward. You're going to need him in the next so many years. 11% ownership on DK.
Yeah, based on last year, it was terrible. If it looks like he does for the rest of this year, if he just maintains this, that's what they need him to be, is a number 3 or 4. And so if he can be a very good number 3, 4 starter, that's great. But it was definitely a very disappointing last year.
Okay, so a lot of times we talk about the large field stuff, the MMA stuff, where it's 30,000 entries, the 555 on Fanduel or the 15 on DK or something like that. Alex is asking specifically for a 1,000-person contest on DraftKings, Barrios, Singer, or Canning. I understand a little difference as far as asking price, but where would be your starting point amongst Barrios, Singer, and Canning if you got to pick one of those?
Canning 1, Barrios 2. I'm not playing Brady Singer until he looks a little bit better this year.
Singer getting 7.2K, getting 1% ownership. That Arizona lineup, by the way, is out. Walker is back. He was out for a couple games with his wrist. He did pinch hit last night.
I'm very happy you mentioned Christian Walker, Dean, because guess what? Christian Walker is Spidey Bomb number 2. We have reached over 100 likes. We got almost 400 people watching now, so let's keep bumping up these likes. I'm dropping the 3rd Spidey Bomb at 150. First one was Matt Olson. 2nd Spidey Bomb, Christian Walker for Arizona today. One of my favorite stacks for tournaments against the struggling Brady Singer. Walker will be knocking one out of the park today. That is Spidey Bomb number 2. Let's hit the like button. Let's bump these up because I want to give out more.
I think you can hit this one in the sports books too if you're feeling good about it. Plus 430 on FanDuel, but plus 450. A little bit better if you have access to Caesar's Sportsbook. You like Walker at plus 450?
I do like Walker at plus 450. That is one of the guys I bet on today in this brand new website in here in Saskatchewan, playnow.com. They haven't really adjusted for the home run that have been happening this year. We've been getting tons and tons of home runs to start this baseball season. You've seen sports books adjusting, and they haven't really been doing that yet. So I did bet Christian Walker. I like him at plus 450, but I got him at plus 610.
That's pretty good.
And then a couple other home run picks I like today that are not Spidey Bombs, but I just do like based on their odds. I talked about liking Arizona today. I got Alec Thomas at 14-1, Perdomo at 14-1, Corbin Carroll at 7-1, but I like his odds everywhere. And then I also bet on Vladdy and Varsho and Sam Hilliard to knock one out of the park as well today. Those were all guys I like. There is one more whose odds are beautiful everywhere. I bet on as well, but that is going to be Spidey Bomb number 3. So I can't tell you about that yet.
I was looking at the advanced stuff today, like the Plate IQ or the Baseball Savant stuff, and Varsho been underwhelming so far this year. They do percentiles on Baseball Savant, and he looks like he's in an awesome spot today. He's got a good price, and dating back to last year, spectacular numbers. Obviously, he was the trade there with Moreno, big trade in the offseason for your Blue Jays, but small sample. But so far this year, He's in the 5th percentile in average exit velocity. That's terrible. 18th percentile as far as hard hit, the barrel of 39. He's not hitting the ball hard is the problem so far. But hopefully he'll turn it around. It's small sample stuff, but I wish he was in better form. Matt Chapman, by the way, speaking of the Blue Jays, he's scorching it. I'm sure you've seen his hard hit stuff. It's been spectacular. And you mentioned Hilliard. Hilliard hit a couple homers last night, and he's another guy that's hitting the ball really, really hard. Do like the Braves tonight. Question in chat. Braves or Jays stack to do more damage? How much of a homer are you with Toronto? Toronto is certainly well positioned. I personally like Atlanta. They're my number one stack on the board. You have a preference as far as Atlanta versus Toronto?
I have a very slight preference to Atlanta, but those are my 2 highest owned stacks today. So it's Atlanta 1 for me, Toronto 2, but it's pretty close to 1A and 1B.
Somebody mentioned Javi Baez in chat. It's funny because I was looking at him today as well. He's really, really cheap on DK. You know how many barrels Javi Baez has this season in the year 2023?
I don't know, but I did see that he's been like the best defensive shortstop so far this year.
Well, good for him. 0. He's got 0 barrels. None. It's not happened in 58.
Javi Baez has always been a Joey Gallo type guy where he's just terrible for a couple months and then he's one of the best hitters in baseball for a couple months. That contract is disgusting, but if Detroit's willing to eat some of it, I wouldn't hate adding Javi Baez to the already incredible Blue Jays defensive lineup that they got out there. Get Javi at shortstop, move Bo to second base, something like that. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
6 years, $140 million, and I think he's 30 right now. Yeesh. And I think Erod's got a pretty big contract for Detroit as well. Not as big as that, but both of those looking.
The other night, I was touting up Grayson Rodriguez, and I did like Grayson. He had a solid game. He went 5 innings. He got like 6 strikeouts. I think walked too many guys, so he didn't go very far. But he was 6K, so it didn't matter. I didn't have Eduardo Rodriguez in my pool of 150. I accidentally played him in my single entry instead of Grayson Rodriguez, and I was so pissed. And then he went 7 perfect innings, so I was like, "Oh, I guess this is fine."
Yeah, that was Sunday. I took the day off, and I was like, I skimmed it, and I'm like, I'm just not going to play. And I do like the thing, like, oh, this is what I would have played, and I'm fairly certain. I'm like 99.99% certain I would have not played Erod. I don't know what his ownership was, and I don't know if you absolutely needed him, but it would have not worked out for me. As far as me shaving my head, though, I was going to shave it, like not shave, but like a 2. I don't know if that counts.
No, you're gonna do a 0 now if we get to 200 likes. If we get 200 likes, you're doing a 0.
No, I'm not doing a 0. A 0? No.
A 1.
I've done a 1 before. Yeah, it just buys you an extra week or so when you have to get a haircut.
200
again.
Likes and Dean is doing a 1. 225 likes. This ends when the Crunch Time crew gets here. It expires. Completely expires.
It's got to be like
200
likes.
It's got 200 likes. Dean. We're not going to get 225. The people can't do it. There's no way they can.
Well, then I can't shave my head to a 1. Those are the rules, man.
200 likes. Dean gets it to a 1. 250, a compromise. Dean will shave it to a 0. And at 150, we have Spidey Bomb number 3. We're only 25 likes away from that one. They're not going to double the amount of likes, Dean.
I did not sign anywhere for that. I have a dumb looking head. Like I don't want to. I want
to. It was in your clause when you signed your contract with RotoGrinders that future employee TJ would be able to add a different clauses into your contract at any time that he so may choose. That was in the fine print. So yeah, you're kind of screwed there. So always 150 likes for the next Spidey Bomb, only 22 likes away. 200 likes, Dean shaves it to a 1, and 250, Dean shaves it all the way to the scalp.
That is not correct.
It is.
Angels lineup is out. Ward, Trout, Otani, Rendon, Drury, Rengifo, Urshela, Tice, and Neto for the Angels. What are we waiting for as far as lineups? I think we're waiting for St. Louis. San Francisco is pretty interesting. We'll talk about that when we get the stacks. I think we're basically done with pitchers. Unless anybody else wants to throw any pitchers out there, feel free to give us a summary. No Royals just yet. No Cardinals. No Giants. No Athletics as far as lineups. Everything else we got. Give me your summary as far as pitchers.
I just had a new build come in, and I'm a little lower on Griffin Canning now. He's still my second highest owned pitcher, but I'm just looking to get to him in like the 40% range now, because I want to differentiate a little bit. I want to make sure if one of these other pitchers has a ceiling game, if I only have like 3% of them, well, what's kind of the point? And so in the 10 to 20% range, it's Morton, it's Barrios, it's Cortez, Miller, Buto, Lauer, Steele. And then I have Griffin Canning at 40% and 70% Joe Ryan.
Chris Kirkwood in the chat. Kirky saying Morton masterclass incoming. Okay, maybe. I don't think I'm getting the Morton. Maybe I should pick on the Marlins. It's never a terrible idea. But I know Renfroe in that Angels lineup, but it's a pretty patient lineup for what it's worth. The first four guys dating back to last season, their walks at least 9.9%. So some patience there and pretty contact heavy with the exception of Trout, Tice, Otani, and Ward. Some of the bigger bats strike out a fair bit, but their contact guys are in there. Rengifo, Urshela as well. And in a small sample, we've seen Neto strike out just 18%. I feel like he's been hit a lot, and he broke some kind of weird record. Am I making that up? I think he's been hit like 5 or 6 times already. Something goofy like that. I'm not sure if he's like hovering right on the plate like Don Baylor. There's an old school name for the people. All right, let's talk about some stacks. As far as our stacks today, consensus value rankings when it comes to stacks. Myself, Dave Potts, you got Kirkwood. Kirkwood hanging out in chat, Mr. Tuttle. Shout out Mr. Tuttle, by the way. I saw he won $10K, I believe, in the association last night. So congrats to him. Consensus rankings, TJ. Atlanta 1, Toronto 2. No surprise there. That's the chalk. And then it's KC, the Mets, Arizona, and San Fran. San Fran's an interesting conversation. They're the one I wrote up as like the goofy, off-the-board kind of sneaky stack. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that. But otherwise, are you basically in line with that? Atlanta, Toronto, KC, Mets, Arizona, San Fran. And also, do we have confirmation on the roof being open in Arizona? Wanting a confirmation of that certainly is ideal if you want hitters. Doesn't mean you can't plan as far as Arizona and Kansas City, but, it boosts them up, incrementally, if nothing else. Where are you at as far as those stacks? Do you agree? Something wrong? Something you want to boot out? Something you want to put in?
Nothing aggressively wrong. No, my official list isn't quite as close. I haven't ranked Atlanta 1, Toronto 2, Arizona 3, New York Mets 4, and Milwaukee 5. KC, I like certain players today. I just don't really ever like a full KC stack. KC is actually going to be my highest owned 3-hitter stack today, but they're like my 10th highest owned full stack. I like getting a Witt. I like getting a Perez. I like getting a Vinny P. Maybe a little Franmil or Isbell on occasion, but this isn't really a team I want to full stack very often. It's more one that I like to mini stack. So I would bump them down out of my full stack rankings, but keeping in mind that I do like them as one-offs and a mini stack.
Let's see. Apparently, according to several people in chat, I'll trust our chat. There's more than one person saying the roof is open as far as Arizona and Kansas City. Your favorite, you're talking about 3-man stacks, smaller stacks there when it comes to Kansas City. Who are you leaning to? I think we have a catcher situation that's pretty interesting, both Melendez and Perez. Pasquantino, Tortolino Tuesday, so we're sure you can roster him. Witt up top. Franmil, I think Franmil is back in the DK player pool. He was kicked out yesterday because he had a child. I don't know if that was the reason why, but that seems okay. He's 2.7.
Yeah, no children in the DK player pool. That can't be allowed.
Well, we saw that with Betts when Betts went on paternity leave. He got kicked out of the pool for some reason, and now Reyes, and he's back. So yeah, there you go. A lot of people, by the way, on the paternity list at the same time. I'm not sure if you noticed that. Many of the Dodgers too, and even Cody Bellinger went in the paternity list. Something happened like 9 months ago. Somebody had a good time for sure. Moving beyond as far as some of our stacks, what else is the chat talking about when it comes to
everyone's talking about the non-main slate? Gunnar Henderson, Josh Jung, all early. I don't know. They're probably great. I just haven't even looked at them.
Yeah, it keeps like, I'm like, wait, are they on the slate? Did I miss this team? What did I miss? And I keep doing that, like the double take. I'm like, what? Baltimore? And I think this stuff is going to correct itself as the season progresses because I'm fairly certain most of these teams are doing these early starts because school is still in session. And once they're officially in summer, I believe most games they'll get bumped back instead of 6:30, 6:45 to 7:05, 7:10. instead of having 9 or 10 game slates, we're going to have, 13, 14, 15 game slates. The Cubbies, of course, are still going to get their day games in. TJ, Atlanta, is that your favorite single entry team? Single entry stuff tends to condense, right? Are they the most popular team when we pull up Slate IQ? They're pricey, obviously, with the exception of some of their outfielders. But is that where you would hone in on for single entry?
Yeah, either them or Arizona. I think Arizona's probably going to go a little bit lower owned today, and so that would maybe be the one that I'd lean to. But it's honestly looking so condensed in terms of ownership today that I don't really think we're going to have to worry about it.
Yeah, the pitching pool is pretty condensed. It's pretty spread out. Do you mean flat when you say condensed? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, sorry, just flat across the board. Everybody's looking pretty similar.
Interesting, according to our Slate IQ, total ownership, and this stuff gets refined the closer we get to lock. I think the last time I do it is 45 minutes before lock. Total ownership, biggest number is the Mets, which I thought that was really interesting. That I don't believe anybody acknowledged the Mets. The Mets would be like 6 for me, probably.
They're 4.
Oh no, they're in there. Okay, never mind. My apologies. I just forgot they were in the conversation. Yeah, I had them for 3. Okay, yeah. They're getting the most ownership. Terrible ballpark, obviously. Josiah Gray, dating back to last year, the numbers for homers were just outrageous. He's corrected that a little bit, but the K numbers are down a bit. I don't know how much Alonso. I don't think Alonso's going to be very popular at all because he's expensive. A polar bear, he doesn't care how big the ballpark is. He'll knock it out of any ballpark for sure. Your Blue Jays 77% collectively as far as ownership. KC 76, LA 72. Yeah, it's pretty flat. Arizona 70 and then 55 for Atlanta. And again, this stuff will change, but I don't know if one team. It's not like we have a team in Coors that has like a 7 total, and you're making these big decision points, right? I think that's where we're at. You can sort of kind of pick wherever you want to pick. Is what you're saying? Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Like I don't think you have to worry about today. Ooh, is my team going to be too chalky? I honestly think if you're stacking, you can just roll with the guys that you want to roll with today. 6 more likes away from Spidey Bomb number 3. Let's hit that like button. 56 more, and Dean shaves his head to a 1. 106 more. Dean shaves his head all the way down to the scalp. It's going to be fantastic. Make sure you hit that like button.
You have to do it.
Yeah, you do. See?
Well, TJ's not setting the number correctly. It's on him.
Actually, Dean might not have to. He's the COO.
Yeah.
Well,
TJ
doesn't matter what Dean's title in because it is in his contract that I get to decide these things for him today. 3 more likes away from the Spidey Bomb. Hit the like button. I'm going to give it to you right now. This one is another one that is specific to betting odds today because it's pretty strong everywhere. You do have to price shop. We love our wonderful sponsor FanDuel, but I think he's only about 420 over there, and you can get him up over 500 at multiple places. And on my site that I'm using in Saskatchewan here, I actually got him at plus 635 to hit a home run. Bo Bichette is not going out of the park today for the Blue Jays. We like Bo quite a bit today. He's been playing phenomenally this season, batting for average, not a ton of power, but he's had a lot of deep fly balls. And so tonight is the night that Bo is going to be knocking one out of the park.
Let me see what we have as far as you're talking about the odds on your site there in Saskatoon. Let's see what we have in the States, as you all say. Let's see.
I believe 525 you can get him for.
Yeah, 525 at Caesars, and technically FanDuel doesn't sponsor this portion of the show. Shout out to the FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time, but they only sponsor Crunch Time. So
go to Caesars 525.
There you go. But if you want to get it at 420, if you have a potential for a reason to be leaning that way, by all means, have at it. Enjoy yourself. You can celebrate in the way you'd like to. Yeah, apparently 9 months ago was the All-Star break. Thank you, Jim, on Twitter. Let me know. So is that a coincidence going on there? The players had themselves a good time in the All-Star break, I imagine. We can put a stack game in a second as well. They're asking about Snell. Rob's like, am I missing something with Snell? Projection for ownership about 31%. Let's see. We have it. Let's see if it's changed. Yeah, what are we missing as far as Snell? I don't think we're missing anything. It's a good ballpark to pitch in today when it comes to weather. Snell's got a good K rate. As far as how patient the Chicago team is, I think it matters, right? They got Swanson out there at 9.9% taking walks, Suzuki at 13%, but Gomes is not patient. Hosmer not patient. Left on left, Hosmer is a great ad. Pretty good contact guy, but he's not going to hit the ball hard. 130 at bats. Geez, what is that ISO number? This is where, like, on the plate IQ, it gets so red because it's so bad I could barely read it. It's 0.089 for Hosmer, left on left. Why is he in the lineup today? That doesn't make any sense. What, do they not have anybody else?
Bellinger,
feels like they can...
Bellinger's having a baby too.
Yeah.
So Bellinger, Reyes, and Betts, who are all on the Dodgers last year.
Yeah. Investigated journalists, get on it. Something definitely happened with the Dodgers during the All-Star break. They had themselves a good time. I think there's somebody else too, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's a fourth or fifth person. And was Franmil invited? Like, yeah, it's Franmil. He's friends with some of the Dodgers. Like, come hang out. Sure,
he was on the Dodgers last year.
Franmil Reyes?
Wasn't he?
I don't think so.
No, he was on the Cubs.
Yeah, and Cleveland cut him at some point in the middle of the season, and the Cubs picked him up. I think that's how that went. Yeah, so I still don't know what to do with Snell. It's such a conundrum, but he's going to get ownership. He's especially on FanDuel where he's really cheap. I think is our most popular pitcher ownership-wise on FanDuel. Has he had a quality start yet this year? Has he come close to that? He may have. It's always a squeeze for him to, get 18 outs in less than 100 pitches. Has he thrown 6 pitches this year? 6 innings. He has not. No quality start. He did have 9 strikeouts the very first start this season, but otherwise no more than 5. It's just so volatile and so up and down. I'm probably going to lean out, but I'm also going to have like at least one just in case because he could be the top pitcher in this slate, but he was going to be super popular. I don't know how much I need him. Yeah. Dave, I'm sure, will have some thoughts on Snell as well. That's Dave Potts. Cheese is good. He'll be on in about 30 minutes, as well as Derek Carty of the Bat, and you'll have chief mineralogist Kevin Roth as well.
I have never seen us get 200 likes before the Crunch Time crew gets here before. Let's get 39 more. Let's get it up to 200 before the Crunch Time crew gets here. If that happens, Dean, Steve, and I will undoubtedly get promotions.
Do you know that about a year ago, it's been a while. I don't know if it's expired at this point, but you had a give me X number of likes and I'll get a tattoo. And you've yet to pay that off. Are there no tattoo artists working in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada?
I don't know any of them. And so I can confirm I have looked into the process and that it will still happen.
Kurt wants to know, this is a question for you. I don't like this question. Eric Lauer or Charlie Morton as an SB2? Who do you prefer amongst those two?
Very slightly Lauer, but I don't really mind either.
Alex wants to know if Edwin Rios is hurt. Don't know. It's a good question, though. And yes, Muncy. Did you say Muncy as well? Muncy also on paternity leave. I thought Evan Phillips. Yeah, Phillips was he on the IL or he left because of paternity as well? Not exactly sure, but yeah. But let's play the stack game. Want to play a stack game?
Sure.
All right. I'm going to throw a stack your way. You got to put a number on it, how much you love it, how much you hate it. If you're indifferent, 5 means you absolutely love it. 1 means you hate it. 3, you're kind of wishy-washy in the middle. And I'll have follow-up questions if they apply. Let's start with let's kind of start at the top of the slate. The White Sox.
1.
Yeah. So are you making 150 tonight? What are you doing? You're running a bunch of lineups?
Yeah, I'm running 150.
So do you just
1.5?
Will you just like X out a team? Is that something you'll do, or it's like no more than like you'll have like a one-off? You'll allow yourself to get like a one-off of Jimenez or something like that, or Robert, or will you just like X out teams and say I just don't want anybody in this team and that's that, and just I want to get more stuff than everybody else?
Both. I'll do both of those things. So for the White Sox specifically, I have everyone only in stack for just in case Barrios is terrible, but I have it for like no one to get more than 5% exposure to. And then there's certain teams today like Washington that I just X'd out 100%. And then there's certain teams like Miami and New York that I didn't X out the whole team. I left Soler and Chisholm. I left Aaron Judge, Anthony Rizzo, and Anthony Volpe. But then I X'd out the rest of the team.
I've seen all the hype on Twitter. Yourself versus Gundacker. You guys play MLB The Show. Apparently you lost. He's taking a victory lap in chat. What happens? Are we going to redeem ourselves to go double or nothing next time? Is this something that's streamed on the interwebs?
It was streamed. It was streamed on Gundacker's channel. Game 2 is going to be streamed on the Agents of Fandom Live Twitch page. And
you
then
get home field.
we're going to have to – yeah, I got home field for Game 2. He had it home game for Game 1. And then we're going to have to play it by ear for Game 3, the series finale on these – unless he beats me in Game 2. But I'm confident I can take this one out. He took a close 3-2 victory. We both played a good game. He had a homer in the 8th or 9th inning that put him over the top. We both struck each other out like 20 times. It was a good close match, but I'm coming back for him in Game 2.
Blue Jays versus Yankees?
No, our Diamond Dynasty teams.
Oh, that's you have to spend money and stuff like get the premier players and stuff, or
absolutely not. You just have to be good at the game.
Just play. Why can't you just play real teams? Like, why is it so difficult? And why is it a 3-game series?
Why would we not play the teams that we worked hard to put together that are built exactly how we want them to be?
All right, whatever. Well, I guess he's a better GM than you are in a small sample. Let's continue.
No, he's a more patient hitter. I think my team had the better overall, actually.
That's what you tell like the fans of the losing fan base.
We weren't patient enough. We had to make sure that we swung at too many pitches. Jacob deGrom had like 20 strikeouts.
Oh man, he didn't gas out. How many? Is he healthy for Game 2? He can't pitch him in Game 2.
Oh no, he's out for Game 2. No pitchers twice in a row. So Bob Gibson and Jacob deGrom, they're both out. I think I got to he's the Yankees. Yeah, that's what I was pitching. I'm running Garrett Cole out for round 2 because he's a Yankees fan, so I'm going to beat him with his own guy.
Revenge game. You have a creative player? Is there like a TJ that likes like a spectacular hitter, and you do that nonsense as well, or no?
Yeah, I do the Road to the Show, and so in the Road to the Show, you can be a two-way player. You can basically make your guy Ohtani, and so in 2022, I was a shortstop and pitcher, and then in this one, I decided to be a center fielder. And like you go through the minors, you go through all the way until you make the league. And so I did my first year in the minors. I'm on the Jays now. We're the top team in the division. I got like a 1.3 ERA, averaging like 12 strikeouts a game. Like it's wild. So like they have this dynamic difficulty, right? And Gundacker can probably speak to this as well, because I'm assuming it's the same for him, but it adjusts based on how good you do. My pitching is on legendary plus. It couldn't possibly go higher. And then my batting is at like veteran plus, which is like right in the middle of all the difficulties.
It's that bad eye. Correct that bad eye, and you'll move up a little bit.
Exactly. I'm not patient enough. I'm always swinging too much. So that's something I got to improve on my game here. 25 more likes for Spidey Bomb number 4.
You got to watch some Juan Soto game tape and get some patience in your game. Toronto 1 through 5 as far as the stack. The Blue Jays.
I don't really think there's any 5s today, but in context of this slate, 5.
All right, we shall move on. How about San Francisco? We didn't really talk about San Fran. I want to talk about San Fran. Ballpark stinks, obviously, right? The matchup is pretty good. One of the worst pitchers, I would say, on the slate is Jake Woodford. San Fran's cheap. Wade, I assume, is going to lead off. Conforto, Peterson, Yaz. You got a bunch of lefties. You can't take them all out of the game, but some probably get swapped out, right? Slater, I believe, is back for San Fran. I want to say he played last night. Austin Slater, when a lefty comes in, he's one of those guys that can spell Wade, possibly spell.
Slater's back, but Ruff is out.
Ruff is out, yes. There are 3 lefties in that Cardinals bullpen, and none of them worked last night. And Woodford probably doesn't go very deep. The other part of this, of course, is you can get Woodford for a homer, and who cares? Whatever. You get kicked out of the game. You get kicked out of the game. You already kind of sort of did your job. And the other part is, like, you can't take everybody out. And, if it's 10-2, if it's a blowout, less likely you get situational stuff with goofiness, left versus right. Just get the game over with. I think San Fran's one of the sneaky sort of interesting teams. Again, the ballpark obviously stinks. We know that. But Woodford is not very good. What are you doing with San Fran? Because they're going to be buried on this slate for the reasons we spoke about. But there's also some really cheap power on the San Fran side.
Yeah, in my latest build, they actually ended up being my 5th highest full stack here. They're in a great spot against a bad pitcher, and yes, there's absolutely pinch hit risk. I wouldn't want to play any of them in cash games today. When you look at this team, like, they have upside, they have ceiling, and that's all I really care about in tournaments. I don't care about the floor. I only care about the ceiling. And so there is a lot of that in this lineup. Peterson, Haniger, Conforto, Davis, Yaz, Crawford, Wade probably leading off. They ended up being my 5th highest owned full stack today. Not getting any of them as one-offs, but got them for just in case they go crazy.
Did want to see what Carty has as far as pinch hit risk for these San Fran guys. Let's see. Sable, if he gets the lineup, is 29%. It seemed kind of low. I'm trying to skim through it really quickly. Wade at 15%. That's, if that's the case, I think that's pretty low. And again, this stuff, the closer you get the lock. Yaz at 9%. So maybe I'm making a little bit too much out of it. Vogelbach, for what it's worth, by the way, 44% is the biggest number on the board. Picking on Gray. Gray, really, really vulnerable historically against left-handed power. You got Vogelbach right there. Beatty, I think, is kind of sort of someone interesting as a cheapie, as a punt third baseman. I don't have a Spidey bomb, but I'm gonna say this is his first career homer tonight for Beatty. He's gonna hit a home run tonight versus Josiah Gray. Still some more stacks we can get to. Feel free if you wanted me to mention a team or nominate a team. I'm happy to do so. Kirkwood saying Goldie. Paul Goldschmidt. Obviously, the ballpark's not necessarily ideal. He likes the Goldie bomb. I really liked him versus Mania. I don't like him as much now. What do you think of the Cardinals? The Cardinals, bad ballpark, and they're not facing a lefty. Not a great pitcher, but it's not left-handed. St. Louis, are they a team that you got much of tonight?
I only have 2 St. Louis stacks in my entire 150 lineups, but I am actually getting quite a bit of Nolan Gorman as a one-off and a little bit of Lars Nootbaar as a one-off.
Do we have we don't have a lineup just yet, right? I don't think so. Just kind of scrolling around. We have Nootbaar projected to start. Berbia would be the opener, and they're expecting Jacob Junis to be the long man. Nootbaar, Goldie, Gorman, Arenado, Contreras, Burleson, DeYoung, Walker, and Edman is the projected lineup. Still waiting for 4 more to drop on us. Angels versus Miller. Where do you have Angels as far as the stacks tonight?
Angels are my 6th highest owned stack today.
So the number would be
3.5.
All right. And is it mostly front-loaded as far as that lineup? Is it mostly the top guys that are good at baseball?
Yeah, I don't mind getting to Nato and Drury as well. They're nice and cheap, and they fill tough positions. But obviously, Ohtani, Trout, Renfroe, Ward are the highlights.
Aaron in chat says not 1 but 2 double dong tonight for Eloy Jimenez. If that happens, I'm in trouble because I don't think I'm playing Eloy Jimenez. Not trying to besmirch, but I don't think I'm getting there. Picking on your Barrios. Why is Estrada 5.4? I don't know. Estrada always seems to be a little bit expensive for San Francisco. Buxton has been pretty cheap. I don't love the conditions there in Minnesota, but Buxton, when he gets a hold of it, who cares? They want me to bring back the mullet. I don't think I ever had a mullet. I'm not sure if I ever rocked the mullet before. Or like he's just saying it in general, the mullet existed, but I wasn't on board.
Also, Tyrell Estrada is super expensive because he's been amazing this year.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, sure. But he's still overpriced in theory, right? I mean, baseball prices, who cares? Because you're building stacks and things like that. But
looking at past data, yes, but he is one of the highest scoring fantasy hitters in the entire league.
All right. I want to see if the baseball, if he's actually smashing baseballs, if he's getting lucky. This is not what I've looked at, so I'm glad you pointed this out.
He's got a 245 ISO and a 427 WOBA against righties so far this year.
So is hard hit
46% hard hit rate.
That's interesting because he's in the 17th percentile in hard hits, which is bad, and average exit velocity is 13%, which is worse. Middle of the road as far as barrels.
To righties, he has the second highest hard hit rate on the team this year.
Okay, this is a catch-all, so I did not split it off as far as lefties, righties. So maybe that's what's going on there. Chop is saying his BVP play of the day is Eric Haas. What is Eric Haas? Come on. How many at-bats can Eric Haas possibly have to make him the BVP play of the day? Well, I never got your official BVP take. Is it nonsense? Is it like the greatest thing? 1 through 5 on BVP. Where would you put it?
1.5.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am too.
It's not a viable thing to use all the time, but it's not nonsense, but we have no way of ever knowing when it's nonsense and when it's not. Like, it makes sense to me that an athlete can look at another athlete and go, oh, I like his delivery, and it's easier for me to hit against him. That makes sense, but we're never going to know when it's the case and when it's live.
Correct.
So it's I don't think it's nonsense, but I don't think we have the ability to really dictate when it's nonsense and when it's not.
ESPN analyst, I think it was Eduardo Perez. I saw him talking about how he was so good in his career against Randy Johnson. And he's like, yeah, this is what he said at the end of his career, like when he was a commentator. And Randy Johnson asked him, he's like, why did you always hit me hard? He's like, well, you tipped your pitches. He picked something up on the way Randy Johnson held the ball in his glove or where his positioning was. And like Perez wasn't a very good hitter. I think it was his dad. Was his dad Tony Perez? I think it was. But he wasn't a great hitter in the league. And just little things like that, things that you wouldn't expect. And you can't explain it. But, also you had to hit it. Randy Johnson would throw 100 miles per hour. That was kind of hard to do. By the way, shout out to Eric Haas. 2 plate appearances versus Eric Lauer. He's got 2 singles. Oh, no, 2 homers. 2 homers. Okay, there you go. Get excited. That means he's guaranteed at least one more today, right? No? Probably not. Bert wants to know which of the San Fran guys do you like? Conforto, Jock Jams, Jock Peterson, or Yastrzemski? Man, I think Jock's the best amongst those 3, but yeah, I don't feel
He's
great
got a 60% hard hit rate to righties this year. He'll get pinch hit for, but like if he hits a ball, it's probably going to go out.
Brian wants to know Snell or Barrios.
Snell for cash, Barrios for tournaments.
Snell for cash. Yeesh. Yeah,
just based on ownership. If he's 30%, if he's going to be the highest owned pitcher today, then it's in theory not a bad cash play.
I'm not certain he is, for the record. I don't know. He might be on Fanduel. Let's give a refresh. Where are we at as far as ownership stuff?
Currently, he is on DraftKings too.
Is he really? Like that seems. And we're gonna have Cheese on here. They'll discuss, and Carty's probably gonna like him, so they'll have a fun conversation about it. I'm curious to hear what they have to say. Let's see. According to the bat ownership on Fanduel, Snell getting 22%, Ryan getting 18%. Is that a little bit different with our MLB Plate IQ ownership projections? They're generally similar. We have Snell at 23% and Ryan at 15%. And it's pretty spread out. A bunch of guys. Wait, hold on. Yeah, like 12. So but he's also 7-6 on Fanduel, which I think is distinctly better when you start to do some comparative shopping. On DK, ownership-wise, the bat has Ryan as the number 1 guy at 30%. Cortez at 26%. Snell at 24. Let's see what the Plate IQ has. Something similar? We have Snell 34, Ryan 33, Morton 31. Wow. Yeah, interesting. I like that. I hope that holds, and I'm just going to play more Ryan and less Snell and less Morton, if that is correct. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that lands. Any Yasmani Grandal for a sneaky homer. He kind of stinks now, right? Ever since his injury, isn't Grandal just basically dust at this point?
I think he actually has been hitting with, in general, I think you're right. But this year specifically, I actually think he has been hitting with some power so far, if I'm not mistaken.
So dating back to last year versus righties in a 341 plate appearance sample, it's a big sample. His isolated power is 76, which is horrendous.
It's 176 this year so far.
Okay. But like, larger sample versus smaller sample, but I hear you. He's not been
for
as
sure
good.
larger sample versus smaller, 100%. But I think it's also important to remember that players can make large changes in the offseason, especially when it was a player who was hurt.
How old is Yasmani Grandal? Isn't he? I feel like he's kind of done. I could be wrong though. I feel like he's got to be like 32, 33. I'm gonna say he's 32 and a half.
34.
Yeah.
So we could fact be done.
It's over. K-Town's Finest wants to know the Spidey Bomb recap. What was number 3? Give them all, the people joining us late. And hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. We do appreciate that. 5 minutes or so. We have Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. We got Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire winner, as well as Derek Carty of the Bat. What do we have as far as our Spidey Bomb count?
Spidey Bomb number 1 is Matt Olson. Now, this is mostly a play for DFS, not so much betting. He doesn't have great home run odds, but he's not going as high owned today as he should be. He's my favorite player on my favorite stack of the day. And then number 2 is Christian Walker. You can get him for plus 500. I really like Walker to hit a home run today. So does Spidey. Number 3, Bo Bichette. Phenomenal odds. You can get him for over plus 500 at Caesars, plus 525, I believe it is. And we are only 8 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 4. And also, I think the first time we'll ever have had 200 likes before the Crunch Time crew gets here. And so let's have 8 more people hit the like button ASAP here so that we can get one more Spidey Bomb.
Got a Royals lineup. Witt, Vinny, Pasquantino, Perez, Olivares, Massey, Reyes, Isbel, Dozier, Lopez. That means no MJ Melendez. If you like Melendez, you probably had some Melendez. Cross him off your list.
That's 2 days in a row that DK has been on the ball with their little tags. Yesterday, they had Christian Walker as day-to-day, and it was nothing more than a rest day because he pinch hit. Today, they had MJ Melendez day-to-day, and there he is again, not in the lineup. So I guess kind of kudos to them.
I think Melendez is dinged a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. I guess he's dealing with he's got a back, apparently. I don't know what to spawn this conversation, but producer Steve just says thoughts on Dr. Pepper. I don't know. Are you a Dr. Pepper guy? Are you a Mr. Pibb guy? Are you a Dr. Thunder guy? You going off the board? The bootleg Walmart variety?
I'm actually not a really big soda pop guy.
I like that you say soda pop. I do love that.
I call it pop, but like I feel like you guys usually call it soda. So I just combined and said soda pop.
In Florida, people will call it a Coke, and Coke is not necessarily a Coke. It's like, okay, you want a Coke? Now, which Coke do you want? Which doesn't make any sense, but at least that's
where I am. Yeah. A Coke means going for a beer, because that's what all the coaches would say. Because whether I've spent a lot of time around sports teams, right, and coaches, and so that was kind of always the slang. Anytime the coaches were, regardless of what sport you're coaching, when they're going out for a beer afterwards, and they're still around all the children, it's just we're going out for a Coke.
Interesting. What's your favorite Coke? Dr. Pepper. Yeah, that's it is strange how that works. I don't know what spawned that conversation, but there you go. And yes, pop is a Midwest thing. I know Michigan and Ohio is a thing
here,
where they say pop.
My favorite soft drink where we are is probably iced tea, because our iced tea is not the same as your iced tea. Like our iced tea is basically like Arizona iced tea, or like a brisk sweet tea, but still different. Okay. And so like that's probably my favorite here.
Yeah, and depending on where you're at in the States there, it's like sometimes it's assumed it's sweet and sometimes it's a different conversation.
Oh, the amount of times like as that's like a common thing for like kids here. It's like the first time they go to the States and they go to a restaurant, they order an iced tea and they drink it and they're like like that's a common story that many people have.
Yes, you'll get it sweetened
automatically. We have 224 likes. We're 25 away from a 5th Spidey Bomb. This is
Spidey even awake? Bonkers. I figured he checked out.
Spidey's always awake. This is crazy.
Dr. Pepper got us all the likes.
Dr. Pepper getting all the likes. Shout out Dr. Pepper. The chat's going absolutely crazy. Shout out the chat. You guys have been amazing today, hitting the like button, being engaging, asking questions. So shout out to the chat. Who is
what inspired what inspired the Dr. Pepper conversation, Steve? What did I miss?
I'm drinking one right now. Can't see it because of my green screen, but
that's your beverage of choice, the Dr. Pepper? You're not a
no,
Mr. Pibb guy?
I like well, I don't really drink a lot of soda either, but I have my beer. And I feel like it's unique. I feel like it's a big opinionated soda that you either love it or hate it. There's not really an in-between. And
yeah, it's a very American drink too. Like I know, when like Europeans come over, the other people come over from different countries. Canada doesn't count, obviously.
I need your help,
Here's Spidey Bomb 4, though.
Before you get out of here, if you could go ahead and announce Spidey Bomb 4 for us.
Oh, is it my guy?
It's your guy.
Spidey Bomb number 4 is going to be Pete Alonso, the polar bear.
Alonso. And we're 4 likes away from 250, so I'm giving you the double Spidey Bomb right now. Hit that like button, 250. Dean's going to shave his head. This is crazy. What a wild show. Rowdy Tellez is our last Spidey Bomb of the day. So Tellez, it's a big first baseman day for Spidey Bombs. We got Tellez. We got Christian Walker. We got Pete Alonso. We have Bo Bichette. And we have Matt Olson. These 5 players will be hitting home run today. The first ever 5 Spidey Bomb show. 250 likes. This chat is amazing. Shout out to you. What a great show.
Ironically, the polar bear endorses Coke, and they still do it in the commercials. I'm not really sure if that's a thing or not. Remember, the polar bears used to endorse Coca-Cola. So I don't know how they feel about that with the polar bear. Pete Alonso. We should have Crunch Time coming in momentarily. With you got Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. You have Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood. You have Derek Carty as well. I see. There's a polar bear on the screen. There you go. See. Right on cue. Producer Steve having. You know what, Steve? You say I never look at the screen. Right there. I'm on top of it. I'm nailing it. I wanted to see if
I'm actually really proud.
It took me 9 years, but I'm starting to learn how to multitask. I started to figure it out. Look at that. Oh, we can put the screen over here. Yeah, it makes things makes life much easier.
We got some great gifts here, and all I can think about is like, damn, can we actually get 300 before these Crunch Time guys get here? Because there's almost 600 people watching us here today, Dean.
Well, Carty's always late, so there's a chance.
People want the Spidey Bomb. Carty's always late. Let's get it to 600, or the 300. Sorry, if we get 300 likes,
I'm gonna let the Crunch Time guys in, but Carty's not here, so we'll see if we can do it before Carty gets here.
If we, this is absolutely. Can we give away free stuff? This is crazy. We're doing amazing today.
We just got a St. Louis lineup. St. Louis looks, I think, as predicted. Let's see: Nootbaar, Goldie, Gorman, Arenado, Contreras, Burleson, Carlson, Donovan, Edmund, Giants. Wade is leading off. Conforto, Zeddy Davis, Peterson, Yastrzemski, Estrada, Crawford, Sable, and VR. And then we got the A's. It's bad. Ruiz, Noto, Rooker, Peterson, Aguilar, Capel, Langoliers, Kemp, and Smith. We do have Dave Potts. We do have Kevin Roth. Hey, Potts, quick question. I put a poll out there on Twitter today, and this is a little pivot. I was listening to the Morning Grind. You were on the Morning Grind with Stevie last night. You guys talked a little ice cream, predictably. That was like minus 1,000.
Right, indeed.
You talked Ben and Jerry. I was curious, and I had this conversation with somebody else. So how many servings, generally speaking, how many servings, how many sit-downs do you get out of a pint of Ben and Jerry's?
I try to do 2. It's I can easily just eat a whole pint, but I really try not to. But if I try to spread it out to 3, that's a little too much. So it's basically half a pint. And so that's how I do it.
Yeah. 60-40, 70-30, or it's like a 50-50?
So it very much depends on what kind and how you get it that first time. There's that, when you get out of the freezer, there's that ideal point in between being frozen and starting to melt, where if you hit it just right, you got to have more because it's perfect and it's hard to recreate. So if I hit it perfect, it'll be more of a 70-30. But if it's off, then I'll go 50-50.
You know, we get a good answer out of you. Can you just let it sit for 5 minutes and then we get to that perfect spot, or you don't want to sit and just stare at it for 5 minutes?
No, it's not even that. It's like, and it has to be the way the Ben & Jerry's comes from the store. It's already come to you somewhat such that certain pints can't ever get to that stage. Like, it's not just, hey, this is frozen, this is melted. Some of them get too frozen at some point during the process in some store or some freezer somewhere. And so even as they start to melt, it's not the perfect 100% what you're looking for. And there's nothing you can do
And
to
vice
make it that way.
versa, some of them will melt and then refreeze, giving them that kind of like ice block feel. And then that's kind of the worst of both worlds.
Right. And so that's the thing, that ice block feel, if you get a little bit of that, then it can never recover. Like once you let it melt, it's not like that goes away completely. And sometimes that you just get them that way from the store, which is
the in-depth ice cream analysis that you can only
Amazing.
get here at RotoGrinders.
Did we
Have
buy
you
enough
ever-
time to get the 300 likes?
Not for 300 likes, but we bought enough time for Carty to pop in. Roth, have you ever seen this many likes on a show? Like,
I have
why?
no idea how you've done that. Did I miss something? What did you promise?
The Spidey bombs are just that hot.
That was it?
Like,
Okay.
we're 2 weeks in a row now of them hitting at like over 60%.
That'll do it.
And so the people are
Dr.
just coming
Pepper.
in hot for the Spidey bombs. And Dr. Pepper. We were talking about Dr. Pepper. People hit the like button for that.
Okay. That's random, but whatever works, man. Good job. Excellent stuff.
What's up, Carty? What's up, Dave? And Kevin Roth. The people though in chat, they enjoyed the Dave's thoughts on Ben and Jerry's, and now they're all throwing out their favorite flavor of Ben and Jerry ice cream. And the people want to know, Dave, you gave such a thorough answer as far as your favorite Ben and Jerry flavor. As far as just your thought process on Ben and Jerry, do you have a favorite flavor, or like depends on the day, depends on the weather, things like that?
I mean, I do have a favorite. Like, it's New York Super Fudge Chunk is the one that is always in the rotation. So I would say that's my favorite. But on any given day, that may not be my favorite. But overall, yes, that is my favorite.
Fish food?
All right.
Any votes for fish food?
That's my number 2. That would have been
Yes.
that is
Fish
absolutely
food
my
is
number 2.
Delicious.
It really is great.
Carty?
I don't know the names of the flavors, but there's one like a chocolate fudge brownie one. Is that
There's one called Chocolate Fudge Brownie.
that's probably the one I go
That's
for.
probably- Probably it.
Yeah.
There you go. TJ, anything else for the boys before we step aside and make way for the FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time?
Nope, let's get out of here. I got to finish my taxes.
Ugh.
Yeah.
They
But hey,
just let you
know
do
what?
them whenever you want in Canada.
Yeah.
When's your deadline?
April
They were-
30th is the deadline.
That actually makes way more sense than just some random middle of April day.
That does make a lot more sense. Good job, Canada.
Basically, everything we do is better than you guys.
Yeah, or one thing, the date on the taxes.
Somewhere in the middle. The one perk, though, TJ, right? You got no taxes as far as DFS there in Canada. Enjoy that. I assume
No
that's
tax
the whole
in
thing.
terms of DFS, free healthcare. It's all good stuff. I don't
Myself
know how I can
Nothing is
actually-
free. Somebody's paying for that
Okay,
healthcare, TJ. I don't think people understand
No.
what that means. Like,
No.
it just comes from Santa Claus in a
Yes,
interesting. Well, good
it
for
comes
you
from
guys.
Brad Keller. Cheese. That's who gives us our health.
Yes, so you're all broken. I understand.
Myself and TJ, thank you for watching the first portion of Grinders Live. We're going to yield down to the FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time. You got Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, 2-time millionaire winner. You got Derek Carty at the bat. You have chief meteorologist Kevin Roth. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. As always, excellent work, Dino and TJ, getting those likes up. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is Crunch Time. It is sponsored by FanDuel, and it is the show where we bring on two of the sharpest minds in the biz. Talk a little baseball. Sometimes argue a little baseball. We don't know. We don't really know until we start getting into it. We got one, Mr. Dave Potts, the ice cream connoisseur, but also the 2-time Millie winner. Cheese, what's up, bud?
Not too much. Yeah, it's a good slate. It's kind of like one of the ones we had last week where everything is really condensed. There's no super clear chalk, no super clear obvious best plays. It's kind of a bunch of everything, which is good. I like it that way.
Yeah, makes it more fun, I think. All right, we got Carty as well. Inventor, creator, and CFO of the BatX Enterprises. Throw up the X. What up, Carty? How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good.
You feel the same way about the slate? You like what we've got tonight?
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything. There's kind of a lot to like, a lot of ways to differentiate. It's a good slate.
Okay, we got Eric in the chat. He says, Carty, Snell Day again. I don't know if he's ragging on you or if it just is Snell Day, and that's what it is.
It just means no one knows what's going to happen and it's going to be bad one way or the other.
Yeah, that's fun. That's exciting.
It means embrace the whatever Snell is.
Embrace the variance. Hey, let's talk about the weather real quick. No major issues. The game most likely to see rain is already playing. And so that's not on the slate, clearly. That's not a concern. And then we've got, I don't even want to get into. It's not going to rain anywhere. How about we leave it at that?
Please do. Yeah.
We will not see a disruptive rain. We will see temperatures in Chicago in the 30s. It's like low 40s, upper 30s, and winds blowing in from left at about 10 miles per hour. It's pretty cold in Minnesota, but that Chicago game is like primo pitching weather. And I bet the under on scores and odds, I think it was 8.5 on one of the books. It was 7.5 on most. There will be, I don't know what that is. The forecasters are all going to die. That's it. You nailed it. Cheese, do we like pitchers there? I'm hoping that we like pitchers in Chicago because
both the Chicago game and the Minnesota game are. I mean, the Chicago game, that's where Blake Snell is, and honestly, Blake Snell is the one guy who it does not matter what the weather. Like if Blake Snell is on, he pitches well, and if he's off, he pitches poorly. I can be cold, hot, anything.
Great.
It really is weirdly doesn't matter to him. But it makes us not like the bats as much, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's just dive into it. Let's do it. We do like to start talking pitchers. We like to start, of course, on FanDuel because that is our sponsor site. Make sure you sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. Cheese, what do we got?
Yeah. So last week, FanDuel priced up the Cubs pitchers when they went to Oakland, which was great. They forgot to move them back down. So Justin Steele is just not relevant. Like he's a nice enough guy, but he is not playable. So on both sides, Joe Ryan and Nestor Cortez are the top two pitchers, and they're expensive-ish, but they're not. I mean, it's pretty easy to fit them if you want to do that. Especially on FanDuel, like I haven't had any trouble playing Joe Ryan. But really the gaps in pricing are about correct for where the gap in skill is. So like, this isn't like having, DeGrom and Cole. It's Joe Ryan, Nestor Cortez, good pitchers. You would expect good starts. Joe Ryan does have the upside that makes him my favorite pitcher, but it's not like I feel like I just have to play one of these guys no matter what. The pricing splits up pretty differently on the sites after that. On FanDuel is where we get Blake Snell super cheap. And that, like, to me, he's a bigger decision point on FanDuel because he's probably going to be the most popular pitcher, which makes me very much not like him. Whereas on DraftKings, he's kind of stuck in this big mix of guys in the 8K range that I don't think he's chalk, so I like him a little better. That's just kind of Blake Snell is the new Robbie Ray rule for me. Like, I don't like him if he's chalky, period, regardless of anything. I wouldn't blame you if you played him on FanDuel, but I just haven't needed that much salary. I would rather just spend maybe up to Eric Lauer. I do not right now trust Charlie Morton. I think he's going to be fine. It's just he's old and he hasn't been good in a year. So I don't know. I'm not playing Charlie Morton, but I certainly understand why you would. I think the big difference between the sites is this Griffin Canning salary. He's going to be the chalk on DraftKings because he's super cheap, and I don't think anyone is playing him on FanDuel because he's 8,800. Personally, I don't like him enough to play him at 8,800. But if you do like him because of the matchup, like playing him on FanDuel will get you hugely different. I would rather just play. I would even rather play Snell than him at the discount, and I would rather play Barrios than him at a discount. And then Eric Lauer, who I like better than Morton, but not really any better than Snell and Barrios and Canning, makes him kind of blah for me on FanDuel.
Okay, did you say that there's a certain cash play, or were all those guys kind of?
I mean, I would just play Joe Ryan because it's really easy to fit.
Yeah.
Like if you just run the optimizer, I'm certain it'll give you Blake Snell. I can't personally endorse that in cash, but I mean, you do what you want to do.
Okay, let's talk DK. You get two pitchers over there.
Yes, very different mostly because of the Griffin Canning salary. I am the most interested in seeing what happens with Mason Miller. If this was a different slate or maybe a different matchup, I think he'd be chalk. I think he should be chalk. Like, I just think I know for 100% fact that he is better than Griffin Canning. Not that means that he will outscore him tonight, though, because he's facing the Angels. He's only going to throw 80 pitches probably, and Canning's facing Oakland and throw 100 pitches. So, yes, Canning is most likely going to outscore Mason Miller. But if we can even sort of believe the ownership, which I think we can, and Canning is 3 times the ownership of Miller, I'm playing Miller as the cheap guy. I ended up playing a lot more Jose Barrios than I thought at 8,100 because just that little gap from like Lauer, Morton, Snell down to Barrios, it's like $500. I need that $500, and I like them all about the same. I just think the White Sox are horrendous. So once I get down past Ryan and Cortez, I don't particularly care which one of those pitchers in the 8K range I play. So if I need the extra couple bucks, I'm just playing Barrios. The other guy I'm playing that I do not recommend for you to play, I'm just telling you that I am playing him, is Spencer Turnbull. Ground ball pitcher against a team with 6 ground ball hitters and a fair amount of strikeouts. And I just think he gets a bunch of really easy innings for a super boring 14-point game at 5,200.
Okay. This Mason Miller character, is the upside there if he's going to get maxed at 80 pitches against a good team? Like, even if things go right,
Yes.
Is that enough?
Yes.
I also wouldn't say his max is 80 pitches. I think
Yeah, that's his expectation.
Okay.
yeah, he could go 95. Like he has the ability. He's stretched out enough to do that. It's just that's not his most likely scenario.
In general, for the season, their goal is to limit him
Yeah.
as much as possible, anytime it's possible.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Any other names you want to throw in there, or shall I kick it to Carty?
I'm done.
Okay. Carty, what's the move here?
Yeah, so Cheese said on FanDuel he cannot endorse Blake Snell, but I'll be the guy who does it. I can endorse Blake Snell.
There we go.
The bat does see kind of Ryan and Cortez as the top guys too, but not by a huge amount. And it has that next tier bunched very closely, and they're close enough to Ryan and Cortez. Like it's Morton, it's Snell, it's Lauer. It doesn't like Barrios as much as those guys, the way it seems like Cheese does. But like Snell is so much cheaper than all of them on FanDuel. So 7.6K. Like, yeah, you don't need the salary. You can spend up on one of these other guys if you want. If you're going to, I think it would be Joe Ryan. But I'm fine if you just want to play Snell and a couple extra studs. Like he's a little bit unpredictable. People don't like him for whatever reason, but he is a legitimately
For whatever
good
reason. The reason is because he usually sucks. There is a reason.
That is not even remotely true. He usually sucks. Oh my God.
Yes, for DFS purposes, he usually sucks.
Come on. The guy had a 3.38 ERA last year. How does he usually suck and do that? He doesn't. That's how.
Let's pull up
Well,
the
you
box
should check
score.
out the game log at some point when you are feeling up to it.
I'm perfectly aware that he has not been good this year. But he's also striking out 10 and a half batters per 9, and it's been 4 starts. And I'm not going to overreact to that, especially when he's facing the crappy Cubs lineup in 38-degree weather with wind blowing in Wrigley. Like I'm not concerned. Blake Snell is fine. 7.6K is an egregious price, and I'm fine with him in cash games. In GPPs, where he's going to be the most expensive guy, obviously, you can differentiate. You can play some Cortez. You can play some Morton. I'm fine with doing all that kind of thing. Over on DraftKings, I think I probably want to just play Ryan and Cortez. But if you want to go down to Griffin Canning, I'm okay with that. You're not getting the same discount on Snell on DraftKings that you are on FanDuel. So you can play him there. I don't think it's necessary on DraftKings. But Canning, I think, is firmly in the mix. The guy that I'm interested in GPPs that I don't think she's mentioned is Jose Butto for the New York Metropolitan.
Jose Patootie.
Not a great name.
Yeah, not a great name, not a great pitcher, but he's 5.5K facing the Washington Nationals in a good pitcher's park, and that does mean something, especially since he is going to come in probably quite a bit lower owned than like the Griffin Canning kind of thing. So I'm fine as a cheap guy to like make your lineups different. He projects him and Canning project tied for the highest point per dollar on the slate. So I think he's a guy that people are going to overlook a little bit because there is a good amount of pitching on this slate. So I like him even on FanDuel at 5.5 over there. Like he is far and away the top point per dollar guy. Probably not as necessary on FanDuel to do that, but like you can. But DraftKings for sure, I have quite a bit of interest in him in a GPP sense, not in cash.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about the stacks here. What are we doing with the bats? You guys kind of mentioned it's somewhat spread out. Is there a chalky stack?
I don't think there's going to be anyone super chalky. Like the Blue Jays, I would think are probably the closest we get. Blue Jays, Atlanta. But I think it's going to be pretty spread out, or at least the Bats ownership does.
Okay, well then just talk about what you like and what you think is the right play here.
Do you disagree, Cheese? Do you think there is going to be like a chalky stack?
No, I don't.
Okay. Yeah, the Bat likes the Blue Jays the best, and they're not going to be overly chalky, so it's not like you have to go out of your way to avoid them. So I do like the Blue Jays. The Bat likes the Cardinals quite a bit tonight, and it looks like they're not even going to be in the most owned stacks if there is such a thing. So I like the Blue Jays. I like the Cardinals. I like the Braves. I like the Giants. The A's I think are really interesting since Canning is going to pick up some ownership and because they are insanely cheap. So if you are going to go high end pitching and a few stud hitters, surrounding them with an Oakland stack, I think is interesting.
Okay. Cheese, your favorite stacks?
So I'm on the same train as thinking there's no such thing as chalk, really. I think you just play whoever you want. I think the top teams are the Braves and the Blue Jays, followed by the Royals. And I think those are probably going to be the three most popular. But we're not talking some teams 30% and then the next team's 8%. So I don't think you really need to factor it in. So Braves, Blue Jays, Royals. And then the Mets are next for me, but not really. It's as spread out for me as it is in ownership. I've got a pretty big mix of Mets, D-backs, Cardinals, Giants, somebody else, Cubs, everybody. I mean, all the teams.
Yeah.
Because there's really no super aces. The Twins Yankees game is the only game I'm not super excited about stacking.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it is time to go a little position by position. Then we'll get into some QQs. Cheese, why don't you lead us off and talk?
I should say on FanDuel, especially where Snell's going to be chalk, you can stack the Cubs for sure. Did you say Cubs, Cheese? I don't know if you did.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Cheese, you want to go a little position by position? Got to start a catcher. I don't really know what to do here. I need your help. I'm building a lineup because
catcher's actually
crap pitchers
and
just playing all the good hitters. And
pretty decent. Sal Perez is the top play, and he's fantastic, and I love him. But Contreras and Sean Murphy are pretty great plays too. I'm using Perez even on FanDuel. Those guys are all around 5K. So if you're trying to do two high-end pitchers, I like Haas and Shea Langoliers a little bit more than Danny Jansen, unless I'm stacking the Blue Jays. But that little trio, and then I have some Francisco Alvarez as well for a cheap guy.
Carty, any other names?
That's kind of the thing. Keibert Ruiz, maybe, if you need to save a little bit extra. Gabriel Moreno, but really it's kind of like Salvi or those 3K guys, Jansen, Haas, Langoliers.
Okay, very good. First base.
So first base is interesting because you do have good high-end guys tonight. Vlad is great. Ohtani on DraftKings where he's first base is great. Goldschmidt, I really like as a one-offer in St. Louis stacks. On DraftKings, though, you have Vinny Pasquantino, who's not that far below those actual good guys. And he's 3,500 against a pretty bad pitcher in Arizona, where you mentioned there's a bunch of games tonight where it's 38 degrees or a whole bunch in the 50s. But Arizona has the roof open and it's 86 degrees in Arizona. So that matters. And Pasquantino is definitely in a good spot. He's definitely too cheap. And so I think you probably just play him in cash. On FanDuel, he's 3K. He's not like as big of a discount over the other guys in a relative sense. So like you can play him, but it's just as easy to like get up to Vlad for 4K on FanDuel, or Goldschmidt is 3,500. So, and obviously Matt Olson in your Brave stacks or as a one-off or whatever is good in that same tier. So it's, I think it's probably in cash, Pasquantino on DraftKings, Vlad on FanDuel, and there's lots of one-offs and stack guys to like too.
Very good. Cheese?
Yeah, on FanDuel, just play one of the top guys, especially with Goldschmidt at 3,500, or go up to Vlad, Olsen, or Alonso. But yeah, I'm in complete agreement that on DK, Vinny P is just too cheap. And then in the same game, Christian Walker, like you get a guy at 3K that's more or less as good as in this spot as the guys who are almost 6K.
Yeah. Okay.
But really, like the top 10 first basemen are very good, and I wouldn't argue with you for any of them.
All right, let's go to second.
Always a fantastic spot. I would say that my favorite couple of guys are Albies and Ketel Marte. On FanDuel, they're super easy to fit. Like you do have Javi Baez at second base, but the salary is not as big of a thing on FanDuel, where Marte is only 3K and Albies is only 3,100. So I think you're mostly playing those guys or something in a stack. On the DK side, if you need a salary saver, there's Michael Massey for 2,300 is the one I like. You'll see Louis Garcia on the bat up higher. It's totally easy to punt second base. You can put Bryce Terang in there if you want. And I don't think, compared to other positions as usual, if it's a stretch for you to get up over 4K, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. Cheese, Carty?
Yeah, there's no like high-end second baseman you need to prioritize tonight. Even Albies is fine, but he's the bat's fourth favorite overall. So like you don't have to do that. The guy that the bat likes the most is Ketel Marte on FanDuel. He's 3K. Like he's very easy to get to. On DraftKings at 4.6, he's easy enough. But if not, like she said, the bat likes Luis Garcia quite a bit at 2.6. So if you need to save the money, it's very easy to just go down to him.
Okay. Third base.
Yeah. And Nico Horner as leverage off of Snell. Nico Horner's like running wild. This is a pretty good stolen base matchup. You get some of Cheese's favorite leverage. And so Nico Horner.
Absolutely you do.
Yeah.
Okay. Take me to third.
Third base. It's another position, I guess kind of like all of them so far, really, where I don't think there's like a high-end guy that you really have to get to. On FanDuel, you have Bobby Witt, who does project quite a bit better than everyone else. And normally you'd use him at shortstop, but I think using him at third today is viable on FanDuel. Again, Arizona, like it's really hot there. It's far and away the best hitting weather. It's a really good spot. And so I like Witt there. On DraftKings, where you don't have Witt as a third baseman, you really can just outright punt this position because all the top guys are kind of the same and none of them are really like all that great today for their price. Like you have Austin Riley, you have Matt Chapman, you have Arenado, you have Machado. Josh Rojas projects really well today, but he's 4,900 on DraftKings. So it's not even like kind of as an unknown type of guy or, like you're getting a discount. You can play any of them, but really I think you can just as easily go down to Jace Peterson at 2.6K, who is the cleanup hitter for the Oakland Athletics today against Griffin Canning. Like I said, Oakland is just so cheap today. You can do a full stack of them with a lot of good stuff around them. I like Jace in cash. You can, I think that's fine, honestly. On FanDuel, if you need to save money, maybe you're doing like Brandon Drury or Jace Peterson again. But I think FanDuel, you probably just go up to like Witt or Austin Riley.
Okay, Cheese.
Yeah, on FanDuel, it's like some of these just really great hitters they cost nothing. Like Witt and Riley, Machado at 3,200, Arenado 3,200. Just play one of those guys. On DK, I'm also like completely fine with Chase Peterson, because I don't know, it doesn't feel fantastic to spend $5K on Chapman or Riley, although those are my preferences. Those are my two favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's really not as deep a position as we usually see. So I'm doing a lot more. Just throw the cheap guy in the stack. Yeah, that's it.
All right, let's go to short.
Short is pretty good. I'm with what Derek said about Bobby Witt on FanDuel, because I like Bo Bichette and Willie Adames every bit as much as a third baseman up top. You can play Tatis if you want, spend up a little more. Again, you could do Javi Baez, although he's more of a DK play where he's considerably cheaper. But pretty much Witt, Bichette, Adames, and then salary Baez are far and away my favorite plays.
Carty?
Yeah, I agree. Fernando Tatis, the bat likes a lot despite the weather because it just loves Tatis now. But Javi Baez is so cheap on both sites, really. 25 on DraftKings or on FanDuel, 33 on DraftKings. Like, if you're not spending up on one of the high-end guys who are good, Witt, Bichette, whatever, like the bat likes Javi Baez not a whole lot worse than them. It likes Javi Baez more than Adames, than Lindor, than, whoever else. So Baez is the guy I kind of like the most if I'm not going up to Witt.
What is it, Carty? I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. Like, what is it about the scoring difference between the sites that makes Baez so much more liked on DK comparatively?
It's a good question. I would really have to look into it, but I would have to think DK in a relative sense is weighing power stats more because that's Baez's skill set. He doesn't offer a whole lot else beyond that.
Okay, let's go to the outfield. Carty, what do you like in there?
Yeah, so Tatis, again, I mentioned him at shortstop. Outfield, he's 4,300 on FanDuel. He's 56 on DraftKings. He's a good bit cheaper than some of the other high-end outfielders today on DraftKings. Like, you have Acuna at 6'6", Ohtani at 6'4", Trout at 6'3". And so you're actually saving like almost $1,000 on Tatis. So even though I like those other guys, I like Tatis quite a bit as kind of like the high-end, not ridiculously expensive kind of one. Dalton Varsho is facing Mike Clevenger. The Blue Jays are going to be popular. Varsho should be pretty popular. But at 4,900 on DraftKings or 4,400 on DraftKings, 29 on FanDuel, he's probably one of the best outfield plays on the slate. George Springer on FanDuel is 3,100, and he's leading off, so he's fantastic. We've talked a lot about this Arizona game and the weather there. So like Corbin Carroll at 3,200 on FanDuel, I think is going to be a pretty strong play. Who else are we looking at? The cheap Oakland guys that I've been talking about. You have Esteury. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Esteury Ruiz, 2,800 on DraftKings, leading off. Pretty good stolen base spot. Again, Oakland is super cheap. So as a stack, I like them. Ruiz as a one-off, as a cash guy, I like. The cheap Detroit guys, I think, are really interesting because they're like all going to have the platoon advantage against Lauer. It's a pretty decent upgrade in terms of power. So Matt Vierling, I think is interesting. And yeah, that's kind of outfield.
Okay. Cheese, you want to throw in some more names for me?
I don't have a lot more. Like on FanDuel, that 3K range is just so good. The Blue Jays guys are the chalk. I guess another name I want to throw in there that I'm playing a lot of is Jazz Chisholm at 3K on FanDuel. Even if Morton gets good again, which I still kind of think he'll be fine, but right now he's not striking anybody out, which is good for Jazz. Smooth Jazz. I don't think you need to spend on any of these big guys on FanDuel. Like, it's fine, but like Acuna and Trout and Ohtani and Judge and all that, like, they're just not that much better than the 3K range. On DraftKings, Carty mentioned some names down like under 3K. Like you can do all the. It's where like Detroit and Oakland, even Washington, become interesting because you can do whatever you want everywhere else with those guys. I'll add like Jesse Winker, Lamont Wade. That's just super cheap plays. Fanduel Reyes. There's so much you can do.
All right, well, guys, we've got about 15, 16 minutes. Let's do a few home run picks and then get to the QQs. Carty, I will let you lead us off. Give me something that's obvious and then something that's a little sneakier.
Sure. So,
And by the way, if the people don't hit the like button right now, then you don't have to do it. I'm not actually even looking at the like button, but really they should just hit the like button because it's free content. So smash that like button for us. Carty, home run picks.
So if we're talking obvious stuff like Vlad, Trout, they're kind of like the top guys. If we're looking, I guess, a little less obvious, Rowdy Tellez, Dalton Varsho, Jesus Aguilar still playing baseball. Oh my God, how have I not noticed that before? Jesus Aguilar still playing baseball. I like the Oakland stack, so I think that's certainly very sneaky.
Very good. Cheese, you want to name a few little home run calls for us?
Sure. I won't go super obvious. Jazz Chisholm, Brandon Belt, Mike Yazaberdusky.
Yes. Very good. All right.
I want to note one thing. This latest run of the bat, its weather source has kind of like ramped up the Wrigley wind a little bit. So it likes Snell quite a bit more now, even on DraftKings. So I want to mention that because
is that a constant win throughout the game?
Yeah, originally it kind of just saw it as like the first half of the game. Now it's seeing it as the full game. So that's gonna make a difference.
Let's look at high resolution models.
Yeah, I'm curious what you're seeing, Roth.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I can pull this up in like literally 30 seconds. Chicago. This model updates every hour and it's perfect for this kind of thing. Wind speeds. All right, let's see. Start of the game. No, the winds are start of the game. It might be between 10 to 15, but it should be around 10, blowing in from left or left center, around 10 miles per hour for most of the game. So I mean that matters in Chicago. That matters
in Chicago. That matters a lot, and that's basically exactly what the bat has. So that makes me feel good. Because if I didn't have the chance to interject and put myself further out on a limb with Blake Snell, I mean, why do I want to miss that opportunity?
Yeah. But the thing is, it's not a limb. Like he's chalk.
On FanDuel, he is. On DraftKings, he's probably not like super chalk. Do you think? Is he?
Well, I think he's as chalky as everything else. Like I think that 8K range is all even at like 20%.
Yeah.
Mari Don Yeezy says, are we talking about winds blowing in or out? They're blowing in from left in Chicago.
Good for pitching, bad for hitting.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's get to some more of these QQs here. Pulling up the RotoGrinders Discord. That, my friends, is where the party's at every single night. And let's see, a lot of ice cream talk. Got to scroll down from that. Michael says, all right, Cheese, Perez or Drury as a one-off. Oh, okay. Perez, Drury, one-off, or Vinny P. Massey. I could also go Perez, Massey, 2, and leave money on the table.
You lost me for a second there. Say that again.
Yeah, it's a little complex here. Perez, Drury, one-off, or Vinny P. Massey. Could also just go Perez, Massey, and leave money on the table.
I would Perez, Massey, and leave money personally.
Very good. Achilles says, on FanDuel, Carty, would you still want to get a big bat at first catcher, or is playing Sal Pal just fine?
You can. Let me look at how he compares to. You can. Yeah, Sal Pal is fine. You can certainly do that. I prefer to get up to Vlad, but Perez is a decent enough discount and in a good enough spot where you can play him if you want.
Okay, Ball says DK Cash, Cheese, Marte, or Albies?
I mean, I would say Albies, but very close, and I wouldn't argue either way.
Okay. Carty, you get a couple big bats here. FanDuel Cash, you want Otani or Vladdy?
I think I'll take Vlad, but obviously they're both great.
Yeah. All right. FanDuel Cash. Cheese, right back to you. NBA DFS says Bichette Perez or Riley Varsho.
I love all four of those guys. Riley Varsho.
FanDuel Cash. Carty 2v2 Trout Riley or Ketel Marte and Acuna Matata.
Wait, say that one more time.
Trout and Riley or Marte and Acuna.
I'll take Marte and Acuna.
Okay. What is this? B says, any interest in Joe Ryan regression? Got a Yankees bounce back stack.
It's going to be a pass from me.
Jeez.
I don't really like it.
No. All right. That's fair. Roger says, hey, Cheese, hope all is well. Last piece with my card stack. Second base punt, Scope or Massey, DKGPP.
Massey.
Card is a perfect question for you and for the Bat X. What San Francisco Giant guys have the highest pinch hit risk?
Let me look. Oh, it's all of them. Like the Giants just pinch hit for everybody. Let me take a look real quick though. So we have actually not a whole lot today with big pinch hit risk. Maybe just because they're so like decimated right now. Blake Sable and has 29%. Lamont Wade has 15%, which is pretty surprising because last year he was getting pinch hit for a lot. Like, are they not doing that this year with them as much? I want to look into that. But,
it's because Ruff has been hurt.
Yeah,
I think that's it. But he still is today, so that helps him.
Yeah. All right. Tom says DK Cash Cheese best outfielder 5,700 or below. I've already got Carroll and Varsho on the squad.
I'd play Springer.
Nice. FanDuel single entry, Carty, Lauer or Berrios?
honestly, I'm not huge on either. I'd probably take Lauer though.
Okay. FanDuel Cash, Cheese, Peterson Riley or Drury Carroll?
Peterson Riley.
Very good. Raymond FanDuel GPP Carty, Pasquantino or Springer? I've got stacks of both dudes. So either way, it's helping the stack.
They're both really good. I probably go Springer, but you're fine either way.
All right. Scrolling up into the RG chat here. Let's see if we can. Does the bat like Hilliard again in Atlanta? I think I've seen a couple of questions about Hilliard. Any interest in Hilliard in Atlanta?
I mean, in your stacks, sure. He's not a guy that I think you're really playing in cash, but he's cheap enough where, you know, he's fine.
Okay. K-Town's Finest says, hey, Cheese, I'm going to pronounce this the way Carty did, even though there's no way it's correct. Butto and Canning or Turnbull and Miller.
How else would you pronounce that?
Buteau?
Buteau, probably, something like that, maybe.
Very clearly, Jose Batuti. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. So, I mean, I think you'd get a different answer. What did he say? It was a tournament?
He didn't actually. He just said thoughts. So maybe.
Yeah. I mean, in a tournament for me, it's definitely Miller Turnbull. Mm-hmm. In cash, it would be safe to go Canning and Batuti.
Yeah. And it was the way you emphasized the butt, Carty. You were just like, but-oh. It really just stood out. All right, let's see what else we got here. Scrolling. Your favorite GPP stacks. Everybody pick your favorite stack. If you're playing single entry, Carty, you go first.
Just give me. I mean, I think you probably are fine playing the Blue Jays, especially on DraftKings. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be super chalk. If you want to be a little weirder, I'll take the Cardinals, I guess.
Okay, Cheese, favorite stack?
Royals.
All right. This is always kind of an interesting question here. Jay says, who's the top play tonight? It's very open-ended. You can choose any player at any position. Who is the top play? Is that even answerable, Cheese?
No, sir.
No. Yes. We're going to need like a little bit more specifics on that. D-Nail says, any love for Patty the Tooth, the good old Patrick Wisdom?
It's just such a bad spot in Wrigley today that, like, if you want to do a leverage stack against Snell, fine, or as a one-off, like he does have power, but it's not a great spot for him.
Yeah. All right. Cam the Man, DKGPP. This is a 3v3 cheese. JD Davis, Nimmo, and Abrams, or Perdomo, Carroll, and Beatty.
Don't love either, but I would go with the second one.
Very good. Alex says, DK Carty, you want Vlad and Grissom or Belt and Bichette?
Vlad, Grissom, Belt, Bichette.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Vlad, Grissom.
All right, Cheese. How do you prioritize the big bats? And my feeling is that maybe you don't really love the big bats here, but on FanDuel, Vlad, Ohtani, Acuna. Not that you don't love them, but that there's other.
Yeah. So yeah, like what I said in the musings that I'll kind of reiterate after building is like, I think you don't like, usually you start with the big bats and then you build around them. I think you do it opposite. Like you build your lineup and then if you have salary left for a big bat, great. Officially, I would go Vlad first, and then Acuna. But I don't feel strongly about it.
Okay, very good. DK Cash, if you're only spending for one of Ryan or Cortez, is it Ryan for sure in cash, Carty?
I don't want to say for sure. Like, there's not a wrong answer, but yeah, I think Ryan is the better choice.
Okay. Cheese, DK Cash, we've got about 5 minutes still a lot of time. Haas or Langoliers or Langelier?
In cash, I'd play Haas.
Okay. All right. Steve-O says, is Snell the easiest pitcher to steal on tonight? Everything I've found says yes. I feel like the bat probably has some sort of stat for that.
It does. I can check that real quick. I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. That's catchers. Where's pitchers?
And really, if a Cub stack is going to win, it's probably going to need to come with steals because they're not going to hit a whole bunch of home runs.
Oh no, this game's in the early slate, right? I was going to say Syndergaard's pitching today, but Snell. Yeah, it's Snell.
Yep. There you go. All right, very good. DKGPP Cheese, Acuna Beatty or Riley Rosario?
Riley Rosario.
All right. Would you run a Padres or Mets stack tonight on FanDuel? I'm not sure if he means like pick one or the other, or would you do either one? But Carty, I leave that to you. Would you run a Padres or Mets stack tonight on FanDuel?
They're two of my least favorite today. I guess you can do it, but there's quite a few I like more.
Yeah. All right. FanDuel single entry, Snell or Berrios?
I mean, it's Snell. Like, Snell has the higher upside and the lower floor, and he's going to be chalkier. I don't know what you want to do with that. I would play Berrios, but, I mean, Snell has the higher ceiling for sure.
Yeah.
I can't answer that for you.
You did. I think you answered it perfectly, honestly. Good job. FanDuel Cash, Carty, Marte Riley or Albie's Witt?
Can you do Marte Witt? If not, I'll do. What was the
Marte Riley or Albie's Witt?
You can do Marte Witt.
Yeah, I think you can. Just do Marte Witt.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
Steve-O pointing out in the Cubs pregame show, they just said the wind is cyclonic inside Wrigley. He says that's bad, right?
Sounds fantastic, honestly.
Yeah, I don't
load up the Blake Snell, everybody.
Yeah.
Unless he has to throw through the cyclonic wind.
That'd be a problem.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah. Luke says, how about a bad chalk prediction? Geez, I feel like yours might be Snell.
Well, but no, see, like, I don't want to come across saying I don't like Blake Snell. Like, I'm saying I have no clue. Like, he could easily be the top scoring pitcher. Like, I don't really want to call it bad chalk. I want to call it unknown chalk. Like, I just have no idea. I would call Charlie Morton bad chalk more than Blake Snell.
Very good. Carty, is there a guy that you're just looking at ownership and you're like, that shouldn't be. This is foolish.
The Bats ownership has Brandon Nimmo as one of the higher owned hitters on this slate, and I don't think he's even really in consideration. So I'll say Brandon Nimmo, I suppose. Yeah, on both sites.
Yeah. Steve-O pointing out that by cyclonic they mean swirling. I kind of figured that. Anyways,
why didn't they just say swirling then?
I don't know.
Because cyclonic is an amazing word. I think they did right.
Dean's got a good point in the YouTube chat, though. Cyclonic wind might push Snell's balls into strikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't know where it's going. But yeah, I like that. It's a great idea.
DePrince says Ryan or Morton on FanDuel, and I feel like we have all agreed that Ryan is the answer there.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Less than a minute until lock. I think I'm getting the SOS text from my wife as I hear baby screaming. Help ASAP, please. You know what? We're just going to call it just like that. Leave a thumbs up here for us. We would appreciate it. For Cheese, for Carty, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.